It is time to cry havoc and welcome you to the Zwift World Series racing show. I'm OJ Borges, you can see down there. Other way. And I'm excited to be back here, dipping my toes into the balmy waters of Watopia. It's been a while, and I'm excited to be back here for each of these elite races throughout the season. And do you know what? What a season it is going to be. I'm so excited about it. Let me give you the official pitch of what it is. The Zwift World Series is the newest and the most exciting development in elite Zwift racing, with a regular season of epic races every 2 weeks. Now, that all leads into the season-ending championships. Get your diary ready for the Zwift Games in March 2025. And whether that diary is electronic and you stick it in your phone, or you write it down in a good old-fashioned paper one, and make sure you're with us in March 2025 for the Zwift Games. Now, what have we got coming up on this show? Well, a couple of things. 2 races, the men's and the women's races. It is the opening elite races of the season, and it's taking on the very spicy, and they tell me it's spicy. I haven't actually tried this route yet. They offered me a ride around it earlier on. I was unfortunately very, very busy, because if we're talking spicy, we're talking Scoville scale, which is how you rate how hot things are. We're talking the far end, the stuff where you need a gallon of milk just to be able to talk again. You need like a paramedic on hand just in case it all goes horribly wrong. That's how spicy this very, very new Richmond Loop Around route is. It's going to be epic. Now, before we go any further, we need to talk about the World Series, and we do that using our in-house expert. She's expert out of the house as well. It's Hannah Walker to give us a quick lowdown.
The Zwift World Series kicks off with the open qualifiers for each race. These races are open to any Zwifter from any team who has completed the pre-verification process with no field size limits. All open qualifiers take place on the same course as the elite race, and for race 1, this is the new Richmond Loop Around route. The races will take on a scratch race format, with the top 26 placed riders progressing to the elite race in 2 weeks' time. Here they will join 24 Series Pass riders formed of 3 riders from 8 invited teams, who placed the highest in last year's Zwift Grand Prix, to make a total field size for the elite race of 50 riders. Series Pass riders do not need to go through any open qualifiers and can race all elite races in the Zwift World Series. In the elite race, there will be prize money at 2 preems, 1 sprint and 1 KOM, and further prize money for the top 10 finishers. For riders who represent a team, there will be points on offer for the team. That's based on their best performing top 3 riders. Teams can try and boost their chances for this classification by qualifying as many team members as possible through the open qualifiers. In the Zwift World Series elite races, new series passes are available for any riders that do not already have them, achievable for finishing in the top 10 or winning either preem. So any qualifier that performs well in the elite race can also punch their ticket to the rest of the series. There really is a lot at stake. Let's take a look at the overall series. There are a total of 5 individual races to look forward to, with 1 race each month between September and January. In addition to the prizes available per race, riders will also earn series points each event that count towards an overall classification. Race 1 in September will be in Richmond on the brand new Richmond Loop Around route. Race 2 in October will be in Watopia on the never before raced peak performance route. Race 3 in November will be in Yorkshire on the brand new Yorkshire Double Loops route. Race 4 in December will be in Macquarie Islands on the brand new Shisha Shakedown route. And wrapping up the series, the final race in January will be the epic Queen Stage, with a finish on top of the Radio Tower climb in Watopia on the Power to the Tower route. There are also some great series-wide prizes. In the overall individual classification, there will be prize money for the top 10, and prize money in the overall team classification for the top 10 placed teams. And don't forget, the top 50 riders in the individual classification will also receive an invite to race in the season-ending championship, the Zwift Games 2025 Elite Races.
You know stuff is serious when Hannah breaks out her serious, posh voiceover voice. And as she mentioned as well, the action actually kicked off a couple of weeks ago with the men's open qualifier. Loads of new faces, as well as some of the legends of Zwift racing. And they blasted up those cobblekines to try and secure one of the 26 qualification spots for today's race. And do you know what? The race didn't disappoint. If you missed it, here are the highlights of that race. Now, if you've been around Zwift racing for a while, you'll see some of these names. You'll understand some of these names. You'll know how great they are. We can see the top 5 of Adrian Le Griffin, Thomas Perrin, Alexandra Gagnon, Cameron Cogburn, and Ricardo Panizza. There may be some names you don't know. Either way, we're going to get to Nathan, not too distant future, to talk us through who he thinks from that group may be a danger today for taking the win. But on top of these, we have some chosen ones, and these are our Series Pass races. They're intimidating. 3 chosen riders from each of the top 8 teams in the Zwift Grand Prix last year. Now, these guys, they have series credentials, and they've got a golden ticket, a little bit like Willy Wonka, a golden ticket to race in all of the Zwift World Series elite races. So, let's get to know them.
Hello, my name is Matthias de Rose.
I'm Olivier Simons, Wiedermeer.
Thomas Thoreau.
Hi, I'm Stefan Kirchmeier.
I'm Sebastian Avo.
Tim van Niemen.
Hey, I'm Ollie Jones.
Mikael Ponchereux.
Martin Mertens.
Luke Elton.
Lionel Boyasin.
Johan Noren.
Jakob Björklund.
I'm Jack Polly.
My name is Howard Gildas.
My name is Joshua Niu.
I'm Daniel Trek.
Hi everyone, I'm Brian Duffy.
I'm Brad Giveras.
My name is Ben Meir.
Hello, my name is Johan Niski, and I'm racing in Zwift World Series.
Some absolute legends there from some of those massive teams as well around the Zwift world. Now, one guy who knows these guys inside out, guy who knows guys, and he knows these races like the back of his hand, which you see all the time when he's doing these 12-hour insane rides on Zwift at some crazy threshold power. It's Nathan Guerra. Now, Nathan, easy question for you. Easy, super easy question. Who are your riders to watch out for today?
12-hour rides, OJ. I don't know when the last time I did a 12-hour ride on Zwift is. I mean, that's got to go back.
The fact is you did one.
Quite
That's
a
the thing that
few
worries
years.
me. The fact
I
you did
did.
do a
You're
12-hour
right.
ride.
It has happened. It has happened. You are correct. But on to the riders and the racers here. You know, be on the watch out as far as a qualifier goes. This Le Griffin that we have renamed in a way the Le Gryffindor, he has come out of nowhere. Like, he rides for Frenchie Fusion as a community team, and I'm really excited to see what he can throw down because he was one of our top qualifiers. And so, you know, you get these pathways now where somebody who can, from anywhere in the world, come up and qualify for this top elite level, and he showed it in the qualifiers. Let's see what happens though now that he's up against the series pass riders, because they're the experienced ones, you know. And you can't go past the duck, Lionel Viasin. He's absolutely on a tear recently, I think, and Martin Mertens. Both of them show the experience. They've won at this highest level. There's plenty of more names that we can go through there, but as far as 2 riders from the series pass riders, be on the watch out for those, of course.
I love this as well, and I think Zwift Academy has proved this, that like the Gryffindor you said has come out of nowhere, the beauty of Zwift racing is we see these new names all the time who maybe have not raced on Zwift, and they come in, and it's like this new athlete we've never known before that we get to learn about.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's actually what I'm most excited about the ZWS is that we have the ability for anybody to get involved and find their way into the elite level, and really it's up to the community now to develop the pro field that we're going to see in this esport, because the more you get chasing, the more it's going to grow. And from there, the whole thing just grows. So I really love what Zwift is up to here, because this is really what's going to set a fire to this whole sport.
That's what I love about it. You get chasing, that's how you grow. Now, let's take a look at today's route, because we said it was spicy. Nathan, today is spicy. The format's spicy, everything's spicy.
Yeah, 100%. It's a tough one out on Richmond, a brand new course. Race number 1 is a scratch race with 2 preem opportunities on the Richmond Loop Around course. The distance is 42.5 kilometers with an elevation gain of 550 meters. Starting off with 3 laps of the cobbled climb section in reverse, finishing with the majority of the Richmond World course. This route offers plenty of chances for breakaways to form and will be one which favors the punchy climbers. The arrow power-up will be available twice each time passing the lap arch, so riders will need to use these strategically whether they are attacking or defending to be placed highest at the finish line to grab individual and team classification points. Also on the route, there are 2 preems, 1 climb preem on 23rd Street KOM reverse on the 3rd time passing, and 1 sprint preem on Broad Street sprint toward the back end of the race. Additional series passes are awarded to racers who finish in the top 10 today, or if either win 2 of the preems. So if you are looking to try and be a series pass rider, some of these are going to be going for the win on those preems. It would be pretty awesome, OJ.
Exactly. It's about not just about today, it's about the rest of the series as well. Now, I was asked 2 words to sum up this route, and I haven't ridden it, I just looked at it, and the words for me were ow and something unbroadcastable, because it looks like it's going to be a great race because of that. That's what you want. You want that brutality when it comes to Zwift racing. That's where we get those great moments. And I think what we should do is let's meet some of those riders better to get their thoughts on this new Richmond course.
My name is Pim van Diemen. My age is 32. I'm from the Netherlands. My team is Movistar E-Team, and I would describe my riding style as a climber / long-range attacker.
Michael Pantureux. I'm 30 years old and I'm a French rider. I'm in the team in Hexagon team. I am a good climber.
Hi, my name is Martin Mertens. I'm 33 years old from Germany. I'm riding for the Cryo RDT team, and I'm pretty punchy climber.
Johan Noren, 39 years old and from Sweden. I ride with the team Swedish Zwifters, and my riding style is aggressive and I like long climbs.
I'm Jack Polly. I'm 36 from New Zealand. I ride for Cryo RDT Elite, and my riding style is a rouleur.
My name is Howard Gilles. I'm 33 years old and I'm coming from Norway, riding at the team Movistar. I guess my riding type is puncher. I think so.
Hi everyone, I'm Brian Duffy. I'm on Team USA and then next presented by Unshored Team. I'm 36 years old and my riding style is a puncher.
My name is Ben Meir. I am 43 years old. I'll be 44 in December. I am from the USA. I race for Wahoo Esports. And I'm kind of a time trial climbing specialist, I guess, for the team. Much more of a donkey than a sprinter or anything else.
Hard and fun.
For me, it's a south and punchy race.
Punchy, and with that comes selecting.
Intense and punchy.
Punchy and fast.
It's tough, but very fun.
Let's see, 2 words to describe it. Probably plum-tuckered.
Oh, how about 3? Not for me.
Race win.
Race win.
Race win.
Preem.
Prime.
Race win.
My better option would probably be the Preem.
Vidar Mel.
Lionel Vujasing.
Ryder Wijasin, Brian Duffy Jr.
Miguel Kaminski.
Sebastian Havo.
Thomas Thrall.
Tom Thrall.
Turek would be a good one there. Plendrew would be good.
A late solo attack.
I think Precure.
Small bunch sprint.
Sprint in a small group.
A bunch sprint.
Attacks quite early.
Probably going to be a reduced bunch.
I think it'd be a solo attack.
On the last year when I finished fourth.
I think I was top 10 once in the Premier Division, so I have to say that.
Solo win from the Cobble Climb.
Probably this past year when I did the US National Championships, it was race 1 in the 3-race format, and I was fortunate to come away with the win in that race.
The team I do team time trials with, we won on that course a few times, both forwards and backwards.
Winning solo, almost like Peter Sagan stuff.
I think watching the World Champs, how Peter Sagan won. Here's that cheating.
I really did enjoy Ben's 3-word summation of the course. Not for me, but we'll see now, because as you can see, the riders are out on the course. It's time to hand over to our commentary team of Nathan Guerra and Hannah Walker. All yours, guys.
Thanks a lot, OJ. And it's going to be an interesting one out here, that's for sure, because nobody seemed to be able to predict exactly the same. We didn't have any of the riders saying the same thing, and I think that says a lot about this course. There were so many different predictions from the riders about what could happen, because this course throws so much at the riders, doesn't it, Hannah?
It certainly does, Nathan, and I think it's the fact that it's unpredictable. I think even a lot of these top riders can't quite work out what might happen and how the course might favour different riders, and I think that's probably the beauty of it, to be quite honest. And I know OJ said at the top of the show on many occasions that it's spicy, and I think that's the beauty of it, the fact that it's going to suit lots of different riders, different racing styles. For some teams, they've got, of course, more riders. They've got the numerical advantage. And so I think it's going to be very, very interesting. And you've got this first part where you've got the downhill, you've got the descent, and then we head pretty swiftly into those climbs, those first climbs that the riders will take on. And when you take a look at the climbs itself, 23rd Street, the KOM reverse, it's 1.1 kilometers long with an average gradient of 3.5%. And then you go straight down into Libby Hill, the KOM reverse, it's 700 meters. But again, you've got these kickers along the way.
What's really interesting to me is I've never seen this move on this course or in Richmond ever before in a reverse Richmond situation. Kaminski, Peniza, and Van Dien go right from the get-go using a well-earned golden Tron out here from the Zwift Games. Mikhail Kaminski, one of the predictions to be one of the strongest riders out there, off the front. Is that 3 seconds going to matter this first time up 23rd Street? It might. These are the kind of riders who can climb and punch real quickly. Never have I ever seen an attempt like this on that reverse because of how fast that pack goes. But these three got working right off the bat, and they're already off the front, it looks like, with 5 seconds now at this point, and they're punching 8.4 watts per kilogram off the front here. This pack needs to put some work in if they don't want to see an immediate breakaway. Zhao Power now looking to close that down as he heads to the front of this main group.
Absolutely. And when you and I were talking before the race earlier on, Nathan, and we were thinking about potential scenarios of what could happen here in the race, where might some attacks go, or where might teams and riders try something. And we were both saying, well, they're probably not going to go too early. The fact that it's just over 40 kilometers of racing, such a hard course, you don't want to show your cards too early. And so this is a big, big surprise to see the fact that you've got some big, big names already with this advantage. And okay, it's coming down now. You're just over 5 seconds to the gap. And it's Olivier Simmons who's just on the front of the pack currently. But still, when you've got three big names, and particularly with Kaminski, that he's already throwing down his cards and showing the potential. Likewise with the rider in blue from Movistar, Pim van Diemen, the Dutchman.
Yeah, and with this 3 riders, that's kind of a magic number here a little bit. I would like 1 or 2 more for a little extra rest into a TT type situation, but the roll through speeds on these sections, of course, specifically this one right here where somebody can come through, carry a ton of speed through, as you see with Peniza here now to the front, the Italian 9.9 watts per kilogram. Marcus Divaldo is the main part of the pack here, looking to come across from Next Esports, 10 watts per kilogram from him. Martin Meritens as well, really trying to press across. You can see on the right-hand side there, bringing it down to 5 seconds. It was out to 7 or 8 at one point. Will he be able to cross? And it looks like Duval is coming across pretty quickly, but it's Peniza on the front, knowing that this could be a danger moment for the rest of the pack. You could see a breakaway from start to finish here if they get enough riders in here and it does not all mold back together. Will this snap or not is going to be the big question. A lot of effort, Hannah, has been used early on to try and make this break happen. They're going to be fully committed with this much of a risk already on the table.
Yeah, and if you take a look, we're only just over 4.5 minutes into the race itself. And so, like you say, it's a lot of commitment already. But it can almost work to their advantage. Because if they want to try and put the pressure and apply the pressure on others, they've got to put in a lot of effort, put in a lot of work to try and close this gap first and foremost. But also, it could snap the elastic in the peloton behind. And so you never know if a select group come across. You've got a very, very strong group out front. And despite knowing that you've got 3 riders who are so strong out front right now, Nathan, the gap still, well, it's coming up to 10 seconds to the main and the large majority of the riders. And you can see Joel Lewis, he's at 3 seconds. You've got now Beatty at just over 7 seconds. And so they're sensing the danger, but you've got 3 riders who are very, very committed to this. And if they're going to work well together, if they're going to share that workload, the commitment, exactly like we're seeing, this is a real danger. We see the team count as well. You've got Next Esports, Powerbound Insured, 4 qualified. You've got the 3 series pass riders, total of 7 riders. Abus Synergy with the 6 and Restart with the 5.
bringing it down to about 7 seconds. It's Thomas Perrin that's heading to the front. Joe Lewis just making contact, now with 4 up there, and all with major engines on them. Not a single one of these riders or someone I would say would be outside of a favorite for a top 10, if not a win out here. If they can continue on at 6 watts per kilogram plus for the next half of this lap, I think that this may be able to get away. But Thomas Perrin says enough is enough. He knows that that's danger up the road, and Perrin is now looking to go across. Big kick from Perrin, not looking to drag everybody. See, and this is the smarts of this entire group. At the elite level, they all know, unless the team is going to work to bring this back, that's going up the road. Let's get involved. Orange numbers to go across, and if they're going to carry everybody across, everyone's going to have to work for it rather than just sit on. Barry looking to go across, a few others, but Kaminsky here driving the front still, knowing that if anybody comes across, it's going to be about a breakaway group that's made it snap. Big question marks here now are going to have to be answered in the next 10, I'd say next minute or so. We'll find out if this break is going to survive or it's going to be a reset quickly as they hit Governor's reverse.
Richard Barry will be great at this because he doesn't just come from an esports background, but he also comes from a cyclocross background. And so he can meet the demands of these really short, intense efforts, and to be able to try and bridge that gap works perfectly for the Irishman, who you can see he's just sitting in 7th place at the minute, just moving through to 6th. And for him, he's not just doing sort of your local or regional cyclocross, but he's doing cyclocross World Cups. I remember him last year racing in the Dublin Cyclocross World Cup. And so this is perfect for him. And if they can try and do this and bridge across before we get to the first main climb of the day, it works perfect for them because it also gives them that opportunity to have that recovery. I think if they don't bridge across at that point, and it's going to be incredibly difficult, you're just putting yourself into the red.
Thomas Perrin heading to the front, seeing that they still have 2 seconds. And this is the moments. This is those crucial moments when they think it's going to come back together. The pack sits up a little bit. There's not a lot of effort left in the legs. Everyone's at that 8-minute point or so, getting close to that 10 minutes after the start when it's like, look, we've got to calm down. There's not a whole lot left in the tank. We're going to start burning matches we're going to need for later in the race. So Kaminsky, knowing that, heads directly to the front again, seeing that they still had the gap. And if there's one person Kaminsky wants to see on his wheel, it is definitely Thomas Perrin, knowing that Perrin can go all day long like this, and he will trade poles. Perrin and Kaminsky, this is exactly what they want. We've seen Kaminsky win in breakaway situations where he doesn't want to sprint. He wants it to come down to either a 1K to go, like we've seen him do in the Zwift Games, or a full-on breakaway with Thomas Perrin. Now, that is exactly what he wants. This is playing directly into both of their hands. And the Griffin, again, we talked about him. He was a rider that went toe-to-toe with Perrin in the qualifiers, and he's getting exactly what he wants out of this. Now, anyone who is in that chase group, the main peloton at this point, going into Governor Street, is going to be thinking, look, that's got a lot of firepower up there now at this point. I've got to cross on Governor, and they're going to put in everything they possibly have because everyone who's in this main group now is extremely satisfied with the situation, and they're going to work for it. They're going to put every coal they have on this fire, knowing that this is their best chance to win.
Absolutely, and you can see now that we're going to come shortly with 7 riders. They're all going to come together, and this is going to be a big threat here. It really is such a danger, and the fact that you've got Holden Komu, who is leading proceedings behind in the peloton, shows the danger. He's such an experienced Zwift rider too. And so if these 7 riders here can get themselves organized, they can get themselves working together and working well, and not start to look around, not look, sort of waste time almost, it's going to be a real danger. And you take a look on the right-hand side of the screen, and you take a look at the gap that's opening up. 13 seconds now. And when you take a look at the jerseys that are represented in the front, you think, well, are you going to want to bring back your teammates? I don't think so.
It's a great point, and I was just looking at the representation. Who hasn't made it amongst the teams? I mean, Frenchie Fusion is here, Movistar is here, Team Italy is here. With Castelli, we're seeing Next presented by Inshore. We've seen BL13, and we've got, it looks like Hexagon is represented. So there's plenty of representation here across. There's only a few teams that are going to have any interest, and that's going to be Abus, Synergy, which, again, one of the top teams. They've won at the highest level for sure. Restart with Niall Beatty is looking to go across, it looks like here. We've got Coalition that's not involved. So Vyazin and Ollie Jones, they're up toward the front of this pack, knowing that they've got to figure something out to get somebody across. I'm not seeing Wahoo there as well. Saris have not made it. So there's a few teams, Cryo RDT, there's definitely a few teams in here that are going to have some motivation to close things down. But at the same time, you see Shell Power toward the front end of that main pack, and you can see that Movistar might just be covered in killing things to make sure nothing goes across, and that does get away. The gap still out to 14 seconds, only growing at this point with the firepower that's up there. A couple of teams really missing out, but I have a feeling we're going to see them get organized on the downhill sections and maybe start getting into that 57 kilometers per hour on the downhills to get those super tucks as quickly as they possibly can, because if they can do that, they can get the better snowball than this front group. But that front group, they know how to snowball as well.
Absolutely, and you're quite right. I was just having got my highlights out, highlighted my my start list with those who are in this breakaway right now, and you take a look, it's 7 different teams, and there is some big riders, big teams who have missed this. And for me, you know, one of the big ones, formerly known as Wahoo Lacole, now the new team name of Wahoo Esports, they're one of the teams that have missed it. Team Swedish Zwifters, they're not represented. You've got Aber Synergy, who've got several riders who qualified with the series pass. And so, you know, they're really on the back foot right now. And so you start to take a look, and I think once this starts to get towards maybe 30 seconds, this could be race over.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. My mistake, actually, on Coalition. Kaminski currently wearing the national champions kit of Poland. He's also a Coalition rider. So Vyazin and Ollie Jones not going to have any interest, actually, to make a chase. You see Vyazin just watching. He's going to let his teammate do all the work off the front that he possibly wants. Vyazin's going to be thinking more about later on in the race, maybe to make a bridge, cross, break this pack up a little bit more, but he's not going to chase his teammate down. Kaminski's gone now at this point, so Vyazin the Duck, he's going to sit in and let things go, as well as Ollie Jones. It's out to 20 seconds, and nobody's pressing. I think this pack has said, look, we got to wait for the climbs maybe to make anything happen, because they're not going to be trying to drag any. Now Beatty, though, kicking at the front of the pack a little bit here, getting up to 10, 12 watts per kilogram, trying to get those speeds high, because Restart are not involved.
But this is perfect, and particularly for those riders, Nathan, who are so experienced, and they are really good team players. They know that they can just sit in the pack, follow the wheels. They don't need to do anything. They don't need to put the nose in the wind. And so for Vyazin, who is highlighted here, and you can just see him just following the moves, following the wheels, picture in picture. He's just communicating right now. You can see he's got the headphones in. He's looking so calm, so relaxed. And so this is working out perfectly for the Belgian.
It really is. And, you know, thinking about the experience that's in this main pack, as well as who's gone up the road, it looks like out of everybody who's here, there are a few riders that can still punch their ticket for a ZWS Series pass, actually. Where I'm looking at, I believe, Le Griffin is going to be looking for that, as well as Thomas Perrin, I think. He qualified to get into this race. So I think there's a couple of riders here that are in this, and they're going to be looking for that preem, maybe. Well, a top 10's also there as well. So if they can keep this away, they are shooing, actually, for a top 10 at the end of the day. So then it's just about the money at the line. Kaminski now driving the pace. We're looking at Thomas Thrall, as you can see, though. Here, as they're about to hit the 23rd Street, about 22 seconds up the road is the lead pack. Thrall, it looks like, suffering a little bit here to get things moving over the top. Now, is anybody going to look to go across? It's going to be a big question. You're going to be needing to put out more than 8.7, 8.8 or so watts per kilogram at the front. And Ollie Jones is going absolutely ballistic. You can see in the rider nearby list at 12 watts per kilogram right now. He is trying to cross, or at least do something and not drag anybody with. He has a teammate up ahead with Kaminski, who's driving right now at the front, as you can see, going off the front with that Golden Tron. But then behind, Ollie Jones is trying to come across, looking at Paniza here now as they come over the top of that 23rd Street, and they're going to have a nice roll down through. And this actually is one of the riders who really drove the pace early on. He was the main instigator, I thought, that believed in that move that I've literally never seen work before coming out of those pens.
Absolutely. And you can see just taking the opportunity to use the road, use the course to his advantage, take a moment for a breather, because this has been such an intense start to the race itself. And just taking a look at Ollie Jones here, this is, you can see the time, 14 seconds. Pim van Diemen's been distanced, so that now for Movistar, they've lost their rider out in the front. And so now you've got Movistar, who are another one of those teams who aren't represented up towards the front. And so, you know, maybe now we start to see other riders. You've got Arne Jacobs, who's always been up towards the front in the peloton so far. You've got Havert Geldnes. And so their tactic has completely changed now. The fact that Pim van Diemen's isn't in the front group anymore. Talking about that Preem, by the way, $1,000 up for grabs. And for whoever wins that, if you're not already a series pass holder, you've got an automatic series pass for this World Series. And that's, you've got riders in the front. You've got Le Griffin, who doesn't have a series pass, Joel Lewis, you already mentioned Ricardo Panizza, you've got Thomas Perrin. So there's 4 riders here who will be looking to try and get that pass, and get that Preem, sorry.
Panizza was just at the front a moment ago. As you can see, Kaminsky, he's backed off completely, 1.1, 2.2 watts per kilogram. Panizza driving a little bit because he sees Ollie Jones, the teammate of Kaminsky, coming across. And Jones went over the top of 23rd Street at 12 watts per kilogram, closed 10 seconds on the downhill. Not kidding. It was 20 seconds. He got it down to 10 before they even hit the reverse Libby, and now he's closed it by the downhill of Libby. Coalition are on fire today, absolutely flying. Now Arab power-ups are flying left, right, and center to make sure that they continue on, because they lost a little bit of time to the main pack, as I think Kaminsky stopped driving the pace because he knew the Coalition rider, Ollie Jones, was looking to come across. Joe Lewis here, now you can see, holding on as they come over the top of these 3 climbs. That's their second time through. It's going to be a third time through in just a little bit. Governor Street, though, up ahead, and this break is back out to 15 seconds with even more firepower. Who is that freight train, Ollie Jones?
Honestly, I can't stress how impressive that bridge was from Ollie Jones. To be able to close that gap in such a short space of time, that is absolutely remarkable, and shows that he's in electric form to be able to close over 20 seconds to the front. It's absolutely phenomenal.
It really is, and I think at this point, the rest of this breakaway has got to be thinking, well, now we've got 2 Coalition riders and some of the strongest that we've ever seen. They obviously showed up with a plan. Now, it was a good point you made about Movistar and Pim van Dien. He was involved in an initial breakaway attempt, then the pack swooped him back up. Maybe he believed it wasn't going to stick, so then he went back to the back of the pack to kind of hang out and get a little of a refresh, and then boom, all of a sudden the 2 seconds didn't come back. Perrin drove the pace, and now Movistar have lost out. But you see a lot of Movistar at the front of this pack, and I think it's exactly because they know it's up to them at this point. Pim van Dien now driving 5.8 watts per kilogram. But the interesting thing is the rest of the teammates are not actually keeping that train at the front. They've got to keep things organized now at this point. And now Arne Jacobs here now making a move up toward the front as well. So they're getting organized, but Movistar, I have a feeling they're in the DS seat here going, their DS is going, look, if we want to be involved now or never, because this race is getting close to halfway over pretty quick.
But I also think when you take a look at what Ollie Jones has done, and clearly he's in superb form, because we've come into this Zwift World Series, and of course there's a lot at stake. You know, this is the pinnacle for these riders, and particularly over the next 6 months. And I do think maybe for Movistar, they've seen what Ollie Jones was able to do, and they're thinking, right, well, if we can keep it at 20 seconds, we don't need to drag everybody else back here. We don't want to be the team. We've got 5 riders in the race. We don't want to be the team that does all of the work for everybody else, and we bring it all back to heel, and everybody is able to capitalize off the back of the work that we've done. They've probably realized, okay, we can bridge that gap. It will take one big effort, and maybe they can send 1 rider to try and go across, and then they've got 2 riders up towards the front, but it depends on how they really want to play this. You can see here they've got Geldnes, the Norwegian, and Pim van Diemen, the Dutchman, who were on the front, Arne Jacobs, who's just sitting 3rd, 4th wheel in the peloton behind. But for me, I'd send someone across and try and launch one of the riders across, as opposed to bringing everybody else back into the frame.
Richard Berry, it looks like, looking to go up the road a little bit there. Next Esports. Have they actually also missed out here? Daniel Turek moving to the front. He's had a really good ZRL, actually, this past Tuesday. I think he took the win in his ZRL race, actually. But I think, no, Thomas Perrin is up there, excuse me. So they're not going to make any chase. So Next Esports have obviously made it. And so they're not going to be chasing. They're just covering and killing anything, as we just saw a moment ago. Backing with Kaminsky and the front. And Kaminsky, I cannot stress enough how much work he has put in on this front group and just continues to do so. And now with the firepower of Ollie Jones in here with them, the two of them got to, they're going to try and keep this away as best as they possibly can. They've got Perrin working. They got LeGriffin working. I get the feeling, though, that we're starting to see they might start feeling a little bit of dead weight here amongst this crew. And they're going to start thinking about how can we get rid of that in the later half of this race, rather than just dragging everybody around, making sure that that main pack doesn't come back. They can be so concerned about that main pack coming back that next thing you know, you've been working for everybody up here who's just been a caboose sitting on the train.
Exactly. And this is what I was saying. I think you'll end up almost helping the other teams and other riders. And so you've almost given them, it's not necessarily a free ride, but it certainly means that you're the team who've done all the work, and everybody else is able to capitalise off the back of you. And so I think you've just got to be quite careful that you don't waste too many of your resources, and in the end, you're left with nothing towards the back end. And crucially, in terms of a race victory, which is what we know Movistar and being one of the biggest teams here in the pack. And they hold so much caliber to in terms of the level and the riders that they've got within the team, that you want to make sure that you're able to have something left for the finish.
Real quickly, gonna shout out here to everybody for the Zwift World Series. The team at Zwift have developed a handy website for fans that has all the information you need to know about the race, and also links to live data dashboards for fans, which will help you follow all the action in even more detail. The website can be found at ZwiftWorldSeries.com, and the link to it is also pinned in the YouTube chat. Today in the rider dashboard, you'll be able to see groups on the road in the left-hand column. A group will start when there is a gap of 3 or more seconds. For each group, you can see the number of riders in that group and the average speed and watts per kilogram of all riders in the group. You'll also be able to see the time gaps and distance on the road between each group. In the middle column and right columns, you'll be able to follow your favorite riders and all their stats. You can use the arrows at the bottom to toggle through all of the riders in the field. This will allow you to follow your favorite rider in detail throughout the race. And just a reminder, that data dashboard works best on Chrome. Pretty awesome what the Zwift team have put together so you can follow around all the data, Hannah, throughout the race.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. And also for not just the dashboard, but being able to have the full start list and having the link to be able to follow the riders, see their Zwift power profile, their Zwift profile. I think it's really well done, and I think it's absolutely excellent to have that kind of platform and what they've been able to put together. I think it's so useful.
Big moves going on now at this point from the main pack. Main field trying to close things down, knowing that we're getting close to that preem point in just a moment. Perhaps maybe sensing that things might calm down after that initial preem in the front group. It's still, they're holding it at 20 seconds. Looking at Paniza and the rest here, we did see Kaminsky on a tear for a minute there, maybe trying to get away rather than having to sprint over 23rd Street. I'm loving that little thing we saw just a moment ago with the distance to the sprint preem over the top of that 23rd Street in just a moment. But as you can see, everybody calming down here, getting set at the front to try and make sure they got as much power as they possibly can as they hit 23rd. We're going to need to see 12 watts per kilogram plus. Are we going to see a repeat from what we saw from Ollie Jones with that bridge across? He showed us that he's got quite the kick. Will he have another match like that? It's going to be the question, Hannah.
That's the question, isn't it? It's where if you use too many of your matches and you use them too soon, and particularly at this kind of intensity, for anybody actually making these kind of moves, you can only do it so many times. And so you've got to be very tactically aware of when you're using it. You've got to be very, very clever and smart. And crucially, if you do want to try and make that big bridge across, Nathan, or make those big efforts, is how long can you sustain it for, and how many times can you do it? If you're on board now with the Welshman, Ed Laverack, he's in the pack behind. Ed Laverack himself, he's not one of those riders that's got a series pass. Races for that restart powered by Alex Coe team. He's a great climber.
And here we go now with only 1 kilometer to go to the top of 23rd Street. Left-hand turn. Everyone's going to be keeping very calm. Ollie Jones actually fighting for the front just a little bit for a second there. Interesting enough, you can see on the far right-hand side of the pack. Now right-hand side of your screen up on the top there. That's the Coalition rider. 2 Coalition riders actually at the front. Kaminsky may be playing the lead out for Coalition, making sure that the bodies are exactly where they need to be at the front because there's 2 riders leading in. LeGriffin now sitting third. Remember, 1, 2, 3. You can see all set up here. Some of the strongest riders at the front. The first rider, $1,000 over the top, and now they're going to start that 23rd Street all in at this point for a series pass. Now the kick here comes from Joe Lewis, the first one to go.
Wow, what big effort here from the back of the group. Joel Lewis with the aero power-up, just right on time, but it's LeGriffin who's coming up alongside. This is going to be a big drag race all the way to the top of this preem. Kaminsky's still there. Joel Lewis, agonizingly, I think he's just going to run out of gas here.
Yeah, Kaminsky over the top. LeGriffin trying to fight. Here comes an arrow power up at the last second from Peniza. Will Peniza be able to come over the top? Jones, it's Jones on the inside. Nice setup from Jones on the inside of the line here. LeGriffin trying to kick. This may be your top 3, but who's going to take the win across this line for the preem? Ollie Jones, LeGriffin now just nips it. It looks like right at the line. And yep, it is going to be the Frenchie Fusion rider, who's the qualifier, shows up at the top level and punches his ticket for the rest of the ZWS, taking $1,000 home. Huge one for Frenchie Fusion, stamping his seal of approval as one of the top riders in esports right now.
That was perfect. Time to absolute perfection to take that preem, and then of course taking the series pass along with it too because of winning that preem, and a nice hefty $1,000 in the pocket. That's not a bad start to this Zwift World Series for the Frenchman, LeGriffin.
Love that. Look at the look on the face there. That was everything. That was, you can see, look at him, shaking the head, trying to shake off the pain. I mean, what an amazing job. But here now at this point, I have a feeling that Perrin can, sense a little blood in the water here at this point. He knows that they went in real hard for that. Peniza, Jones, LeGriffin, Kaminsky, all of them put everything on the line. So next, they're now trying to take full advantage of this with Perrin seeing them fading now a little bit at this point. Can Thomas Perrin break the rest of this field, the breakaway, as well as everybody on the chase at this point?
It's going to be a tough ask, isn't it? And like you say, I think for Perrin, this is that realization, well, he doesn't have one of those series pass. Don't forget, we've got another opportunity to get one of those. That's at the next preem, which is on Broad Street Sprint. So we've still got a fair while to go until we get to that point. That's towards the final third of the race itself. But for Perrin, and that was such a hard effort that they all made sprinting for that King of the Mountain point. For Perrin, he wasn't necessarily involved, let's say. And so, for him, everybody else is really going into the red after that big sprint.
I'm finding something really interesting here at this point. Everyone in the front group is kind of sitting up, Hannah. I get a feeling that they sense the main group is on a tear and that they can sense that everybody's tired up front, that they were fighting for that $1,000. They were fighting for that series pass. Vidar Mail looking to go across. If they get Vidar Mail in here without everybody else, then I'd say it's still a threat if they get a little bit more firepower. But that main group is coming so quickly. Everybody kind of sat up. Perrin was there, it looked like, was driving the pace. But there was a key moment. I feel like all the DSs said, hey, the main pack is on their way back. Reserve your energy. It really looked like everyone said, look, this is over at this point. If you don't got it, sit up. Because they all went to like 0 watts per kilogram at almost the same time. It kind of looked like everybody just kind of agreed with the gentleman's agreement at that point.
Yeah, potentially. But I do agree with you. The fact that it's already been so intense and such a hard race so far, and the fact they were fighting it out for the preem itself, and everybody's gone so deep, so hard, and don't underestimate the speeds in which we're going at here. And there's very, very little moment for any respite, because you've got to be so focused, you've got to be so on it for each and every move, and just watching and being so in the race itself. I mean, take a look at that time gap, how it's fallen dramatically. 3 seconds now, 4 seconds to the group, and for one rider, he's got exactly what he was looking for, and that series pass, and so it's worked out perfectly for Le Griffin.
Piniza, the last one to say no. He's like, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up, but it's writing's on the wall. Now, one thing that's really interesting to me is there's quite a few teams that have not stuck their nose in the wind at all. Some of them, I think it's just because they couldn't, but Next Esports have only sacrificed from Perrin and a little bit from Barry. Some of the fastest riders in Zwift racing have not done any work at all. I'm looking at Duval. I'm looking at Brian Duffy Jr. We're talking, I mean, there is some big names that have done almost no work, and we're just waiting for this reset. Lionel Viasen hasn't done a whole lot at this point either from Coalition. Martin Meritens has just sat in from Cryo RDT. So there's some big names here who were trusting that this was exactly what was going to happen, and there is a lot of firepower left, a lot of matches left. This isn't going to be just a roll-in. This next time over the top of Governor Street, as well as that next series pass is at Broad Street, there's a lot of riders thinking about that still.
I think there is, but I also think that everybody's been very smart, very clever, but it also could have been a huge, huge risk. So the fact that we've had no riders from Cryo RDT who've been in the front group, the fact that they have just sat back, they've trusted the fact that this is all going to come back together, that's not easy to have that patience. And I think that also takes a lot of confidence in your tactic and what you want to do so far. I mean, one rider you mentioned before with Richard Barry, the Irishman from Next Esports powered by Insured, he tried, as we just see the replay there of the moment when Le Griffin went through and took the pass. But for Richard Barry, he tried before, perhaps realized, okay, this isn't working out right. Well, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to go back into the peloton. I'm going to save as much energy as possible and wait for a better moment.
Interesting move here. Richard Barry, good to see the Irish national champion make a little bit of a move. I think this is bait. I think that this is, if Barry can get away, that's good for Barry and for Next Esports. Save the main firepower behind, but send somebody up the road and cause everybody else to waste some matches chasing this down. Now, Neil Fret from Cyrus Esports looking to go across. He's got that golden Tron as well, so good to see another one of the Zwift Games winners looking to get involved as they hit Governor Street reverse. We've got 4 off the front with Zeldins, Laverick, Barry, Vidar-Mel, and Neil Fret. All 5 of these riders would love a breakaway situation. None of them were involved in the first ones. They've got plenty left, plenty of gas in the tank still, and Ed Laverick, out of everybody here, he would absolutely love for this to get away and just start driving the pace. That guy loves a breakaway and makes it hard at the end if he can.
But for Ed Laverick, the way in which he has to win is from the smaller group, and if he can try and get rid of Gildnez or Mel, then that's perfect for the Welshman. And you know, particularly if it's a larger group, it's not going to suit him as much. But you take a look, you know, Movistar, that classic attacking as a duo, having 2 riders, having the numerical advantage. However, I think from behind, the rider who said it doesn't really favour him on this course, he's right up towards the front, the man from the USA, Ben Meer, right now, and he's one of those riders that's got a series pass himself. But for Meer of Wahoo Esports, you know, considering he thought that this course didn't suit him at all and wasn't one for him, pretty impressive.
We do see big attacks actually coming from that little, there's a little flattening out on this reverse Governors, and Joe Perot used the momentum from the pack to launch himself at a solid 9 watts per kilogram to go across. A lot of these riders, they know that it's actually about the acceleration over the top after this next little bump. So it's kind of a 2 bump, this reverse Governors. And so Joe Perot goes across, and now it's going to be about whether or not they can drive the pace on the other side, because You don't have that long downhill now. They're going to take a left-hand turn and do the entirety of the course besides the start pens area. So Richmond forward, we're no longer taking a right-hand turn and doing the 3 bumps in reverse. Instead, we're doing the full Richmond course in its forward rotation. If somebody can drive the pace over the top of this 5% gradient, we may be able to see a split in a on the flat sections of Richmond, maybe a group working together. But it looks like everybody says, nah, it's all back together. Everybody's able to match. And this is really where you get the cream of the cream, looking at each other going, wow, we've thrown it all down and we haven't been able to get rid of anybody. Are we going to have to start thinking about those last 3 climbs or the Broad Street Sprint? I have a feeling that some riders are going to start reserving because it's been such a hard race so far.
I agree. You only have to look at Rasmus Bertelsen, the Danish rider right now, of how much he's suffering. You know, this has not been an easy race by any stretch of the imagination, and for the Dane who we're focusing on right now, he's not been one of those riders who's been in the breakaway, and so you can only imagine how much riders are suffering, those who've been off the front, trying to take some opportunity to get some recovery, trying to follow the wheels, just trying to lower that heart rate. And I think when you take a look at some of these riders, you know, maybe done a little bit too much too soon, you never know, but it also depends on how quickly you're able to recover, and that is, you know, depends on everybody's fitness and how well they've come into this race and how good the form is, the fact that they're able to recover quicker.
Did I miss, I apologize, but I think I missed a Daniel Turek break move. Am I incorrect, or is Daniel Turek off the back? I'm noticing here that perhaps Turek unable to hang on. Yeah, that is what's happening there. I thought he was in a break situation. Maybe had a dropout or something, because Turek is chasing back here at this point. That is not a rider you want to get back involved. He's going way faster than the pack at this point. He was putting out 6-7 watts per kilogram. I think he had some sort of malfunction, actually. And the next esports rider, that's why Next aren't driving this pace anymore. They're actually at the back looking for him to get back on board with this main group, and now you see the attacks going off the front, probably because they know a rider like Daniel Turek is now off the back.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've got Brian Duffy Jr., who is going back through the group, and so he's looking like he's wanting to try and help him right now. But Turek, he's pulling the gap down. He's 4 seconds now to that group that's in front of him. But clearly something has happened, because that time gap was at 9 seconds, then it went to 8 seconds, 7 seconds. He's clawing his way back, but this is going to take a lot out of the rider from Czechia, and it's certainly not the kind of effort you want to have to use at this point in the race by any stretch. And other riders who are distanced off the back, one of the riders who was in the move earlier on, that was the Frenchman Sebastian Avo. You've also got Pim van Diemen, the rider from Movistar, Holden Komu, who's at 6 minutes, and as well as the Swedish rider Björklund.
Looks like a little bit of a move at the front from Kaminski as well as Paradines. That was shut down very quickly by Richard Berry. Richard Berry closed it down and then moved it forward. Some of the riders in game even asking if there was a technical, actually. It looks like for Turek, is some people actually concerned, I believe, about whether or not he had a technical issue, but it looks like Turek, I think, getting back involved. Good for him to claw his way back into the main field. I think Richard Berry actually covered and killed that move from Kaminski just to close thing to calm things down so that Next Esports could get a full reset. As you see at the back there of the pack, the joining up of Daniel Turek. Now, just 4.9 kilometers to go to the next point, the Broad Street Sprint, and that's what everybody's thinking about. At 3.5 watts per kilogram through this section, everyone's thinking about charging the battery, but we could see a flyer, couldn't we? You know, to try and go for that rather than sprint for it, to try and be the first across the line. And there's also cash prizes through third place at that next sprint. Not the next sprint, excuse me, the Broad Street Sprint. There is a banner coming up here on the roundabout in just a second. The sprint after that, the Broad Street Sprint, still a little ways out.
Absolutely, and you can already start to see that riders are wanting to try and stretch things out currently, Nathan. And particularly for maybe some of those riders who aren't the fastest in this group, if it does come down to a sprint for the peloton for that preem, they might think, right, well, we're not going to feature. Maybe those riders who don't have a series pass already, because don't forget, for the rider who wins, they'll get an automatic series pass. And if they want to try and stretch things out, you've got Poli, who's off the front now. He's one of those riders, the Frenchman, who doesn't have a series pass, so he's wanted to try and stamp his way to the rest of the series.
I am getting confirmation, actually, that Daniel Turek had his Wi-Fi go out, actually, in-house. And so he did have to have, wow, I mean, just like flat tires in real life, right? They're like, get the team car, what's going on? Get it to replace the wheel. Well, hurry up, plug the Wi-Fi back in. What's going on? Get the reset. And that chase back, nicely done. And the support from the team, even there, as you saw Duffy Jr. go backwards. So great to see that they've really got things together. But Poli, the reason that he's at the front there, and some of these other riders like Arnie Jacobs, a few others of the qualifiers, they're trying to set things up so that they can make sure that they can try and get their best chance at that series pass. You're going to be looking for these qualifiers toward the front. But Perrin now, again, pressing the pace. This guy is just so incorrigible here now. But Johan Noren, this was a rider I thought about naming actually early on. Johan Noren off the front, Swedish national champ. Watch out for this guy. He can do this all day long. He could do, maybe not this 7 watts per kilogram, but he can do 6+ to the finish line if he really, really, really was asked to. And we haven't seen him touch the front of the bike race. You do not let a rider like this do this and just you bat an eye at this. This is serious at this point. And Kaminsky is working for Coalition, it looks like, at this point, to make sure that this does not go away, because he knows that Noren can just ride away from this pack.
Yeah, and when you've got someone who is so strong, like Noren, the Swedish champion here for Team Swedish Zwifters, then it becomes a real threat, and particularly a rider who's able to, okay, maybe not sustain 7 watts per kilogram, but sustain almost this time trial pace for a long period of time, where you've got that high power, the high pace. It really puts everybody else under a lot of pressure. And as you mentioned, for a rider who we didn't see up towards the front in the peloton, not to put his nose in the wind, kept his powder dry, kept himself out of trouble, it's could become a big threat. And you can see one solo rider, and we were speaking earlier on of how this race could be won, whether it could be from a breakaway. Well, he's wanted to try and take this pass here.
Yeah, real quickly, Arnie Jacobs just got set up by Vidar Mail with a launch off the front. From what I saw, and Arnie Jacobs does not have a series pass now at this point. He is a qualifier. He's looking to go across the Noren at this point. Kaminsky, interesting enough, I'm not sure what Coalition's plan is here. Maybe working for Vyasen for the win overall, because Kaminsky continues to drive the pace to the front. Maybe Kaminsky just wants to win. Maybe he wants to somehow get the sprint prime, but we did see Vidar Mail at the front with Arnie Jacobs right in his wheel. Vidar Mail drove the pace and then launched Jacobs. Jacobs went 9 watts per kilogram and now is trying to cross over to Johan Noren. There's the main pack as we're looking at, but there's Arnie Jacobs there. 4 seconds up, 5 seconds up now. It's even, though, between him and Noren. Noren has gone all in for the $1,000 here at this point. I think that's really what this is about. And now it's just between the two of them, unless we see a ramp up from the main pack pretty soon here. 1.3 kilometers to go. Arnie Jacobs versus Johan Noren, I think, is the conversation, unless the pack ramps up on this downhill. This downhill is still the last chance for them to really bring the pace up. Richard Berry now starting to drive it for Next Esports.
Just look at Arnie Jacobs, the Dutchman, out of the saddle, big gear, really churning things along, 185 beats per minute, and you can see that data, 55 kilometers per hour currently. And the time gap, though, it's holding, and you're starting to see, well, you can just see Noren, who's already got a series pass. It's Jacobs who is looking for that series pass. You can just see him up ahead, so he's got the carrot to chase, but the meters are ticking down. They're ticking down rapidly, and he's only got 700 meters to go until that intermediate sprint for that preem here on Broad Street Sprint. 6 seconds. It's not looking likely he's going to be able to close this gap here.
No, Johan Noren is going to take the $1,000, and I believe Noren already in with the series pass. So as you can see with his verified badge there, Jacobs, he's going to have to settle for second and no series pass, but will be able to grab a little bit of cash for the second place as long as he is not caught at the line. The pack is coming pretty quick. There could be a lot of effort here for not a whole lot in just a moment there. Johan Noren taking it down, though. The Broad Street Sprint, not a sprint. It's a breakaway move that's going to grab this one today.
Well, Noren's going to take it, and the series pass doesn't pass down to the next rider on the road if someone's already got a pass. So Arne Jacobs, the guy from Movistar here, he's not going to be able to pick up that pass. It's Noren who's taken the first place at the Preem, the $1,000. Arne Jacobs with second place here, with Panizza taking third.
Goes to show what a difficult race it's been with the pack having to settle for nothing there. And now riders still trying to break away. Richard Berry looking to go across. Panizza looking to go across. They know that Noren's not going to slow down. Why not just continue on at 20 seconds with 3 climbs in front of you? Now, 20 to 30 seconds at this level of field can get completely demolished over the 3 climbs at the back end of this course. They're going to, for security's sake, they're going to want a lot more than this. So Noren's going to really try and work. I don't think he wants anybody coming across with him, though. I think that he is not going to sit up, doesn't really care for anybody to work with him. He's all in at this point to just try and win the race. He needs to get this up. Oh, he's really working for 57. He's working so hard to get up and over 57, but now he's backed up. Interesting that he's only doing 3.8 and not getting into a super tuck. It's not exactly how I would ride that, as the rest of the pack is now starting to ramp things up, and you can see how quickly they will bring this down because they're ramping up into those super tucks and snowballing the effort here at this point. Milor looking to come across. Arne Jacobs, it looks like, working here, though, with a few other riders to try and close it down. There's this group's all over the course here at this point. Johan Noren off the front, Arne Jacobs chasing with Panizza. Then behind that, we've got Richard Berry with 1 second on the pack. The pack about to close it down to Berry, though, at this point as well. 4 seconds behind for them. There's a chase pack of 4 with Berry, Perot, Kaminsky, and Milor trying to get across to Jacobs and Panizza. And then behind that, Marcus Duval for Next Esports on the main pack, trusting that they're going to bring that back as well. But we may see another setup here with a main chase group trying to bring back Noren and then the main peloton behind that.
And you say about Noren, he's got such an advantage. When Arne Jacobs and Panizza were chasing, the gap wasn't large enough to the larger group behind for him to sit up and almost wait for them and form a trio to be out front. And so for Noren, you know, as I said before, if you're that kind of rider who can get yourself into a rhythm, you can get yourself almost into time trial mode, then it's perfect, because you've got this capability and the ability to hold this high power for such a long sustained period of time. And when you take a look, only 6.5 kilometers to go. They're just rounding the corner. You can just see them come into the picture just behind, led by Richard Barry, the Irish road race Zwift champion here. Pirot is in the group too, along with Kaminsky. When you take a look, Movistar represented. You've got Coalition who are represented, as well as Ava Synergy. They've been quiet already, and so now we're coming towards the back end, Nathan. You've got Ava Synergy who are in this chase. Maybe it was they were always wanting to try and leave this to the back end.
That's a good point, actually. We haven't seen them really doing a whole lot, actually, up to this point. Joe Lewis coming across, it looks like. Now we're taking a look at the main pack as somebody's going across, it looks like, from the main pack. A little bit of a move, it looks like, from Poli, trying to make a jump to get across. Joe Lewis just making contact with the main group, but this is the peloton we're looking at here with all kinds of moves, because I think that they're starting to get a little bit anxious about how quickly they're going through this section, making sure they're pushing at least 5 watts per kilogram. It's all about whether or not they keep the speed on this main flat, and there's definitely a few riders putting the work in here to make sure that that doesn't get too out of control with Johan Noren. They can definitely bring back the time that Noren has over the top of these 3 climbs, and Johan Noren's going to be completely obliterated once they hit these climbs, because he's put in such an effort to get to this point. Noren now, you know, talk about having a lot of fitness, though. He's pushing a solid 400 so watts or so at 5 watts per kilogram, almost 6 watts per kilogram. But Kaminsky is on the chase from Coalition, trying to make sure that this comes back. There are enough riders in that main chase group at this point, if they can work together, that they may be able to hold off the main pack. This is such a race of attrition. It's really a roll of the dice. I don't have a great prediction at this point because Noren's off the front. He might get caught by this chase group. At the same time, that chase group, they've got riders in there that have been sitting in. They're going to have not a full tank, but they're going to have some matches to burn after sitting in. And then the main pack, they got all kinds of question marks in there. It's about to all pop off. We're hitting Libby Hill, and I think it's anybody's game still at this point.
Totally. And I think when you see that gap starting to come down just under 4 seconds now to Pirot, the Belgian rider, and Noren's doing a really good job to hold on at this point, but when you take a look behind, 7 riders are in that chase with Kaminski, with Pirot, with Jacobs, Barry, Panizza, Milur, and Lewis. I think from behind, they've got to do something very, very special to close the gap to such strong 7 riders who are in the chase to Noren right now. But just taking a look at the power numbers of Noren and what he can sustain for a period of time, for 10 minutes, he's over 420 watts that he can sustain. And so it just shows you that he's able to hold the high watts, the high power for that period of time. But I think it's only a matter of time they see. It all comes back together. 8 riders, in the lead. 15 seconds. Ben Meer is leading the chase in the peloton currently, and you can start to see how it starts to drag 8% now. And so if you've gone too hard too soon, you're going to start to lose the wheels.
Who's put the work in over the summer coming into the Zwift season now at this point? This is the real question marks at this point, because if you put the work in, you're still going to have orange numbers to pop over the top of Libby Hill. And you can see it with Richard Berry. You see it with Milor. You see it with Kaminski. Now Arnie Jacobs is there as well. Panizza is holding on. Perot is here still. Johan Noren, will he hang on after all that? Joe Lewis with the bridge across. But Gavin Dempster from the main field trying to also bridge. Thomas Perrins with the main field as well. Is next not involved at the front? No, they are with Richard Berry. So they've got somebody trying to bridge across with Thomas Perrin as well, because it's every man for himself now at this point over the top of Libby Hill. After Libby Hill, they're going to get a little bit of reprieve in quotes, but Kaminski, he's not going to let it be a reprieve as he pushes over the top up to 42 kilometers per hour. That's what it's all about, is the continuance. Looking to make it snap. He snaps the elastic. Johan Noren, Joe Lewis off the back. This may be the finishing front group at this point, as elastic is snapping. Jacobs is still involved. Lewis trying to hold back on because of Noren's inability to hold on. Joe Lewis might be able to do it. He's crossing that gap just barely, but he's going to just get back on terms before the 23rd Street forward in just a second. Now back to the front. It looks like Kaminski is just on fire today, nonstop.
Absolutely. He is in such fine form, Kaminski, the Polish rider here. You can see on the gold bike, straight into the super tuck, down on the descent. Arne Jacobs still pedaling his way down currently. And for Kaminski, absolutely flying. And let's not forget the work that he's already done throughout this race alone. Don't forget it. You make that right-hand turn, the road starts to kick up again. Double digits, 11%, 12%. Here moving through, you've got Milur in that French jersey. There's the Irishman, Richard Barry, who of course is always going to be in good form at this part of the season here, Nathan. Particularly as we're coming into cyclocross season, you're coming into Zwift esports season. And so you can just see the man in that white and green jersey just move to the front. Almost makes it look easy. 8 watts per kilogram here.
Lionel Vyazin in the main group now at this point, chasing things really, really hard. I can't stress enough the reality of there may just be some savvy work behind as well in the main pack. People who have been sitting in, knowing how this may play out and playing their cards late. We've got Ollie Jones and Lionel Vyazin from Coalition kind of making sure that they're still involved, that they need to be. They don't want to necessarily bring, it's such a fine line. Don't bring back Kaminski, but if Kaminski can't get away, if Kaminski can't win outright, still be involved, but don't chase your teammate. Such a tough situation. That's why they went so hard over the top of 23rd to try and snap things if they could, but then backed off to not give any effort to the main pack so Kaminski can do his thing, because Kaminski now at this point, he's got 1 second in the main pack. He's resting in quotes up at 4.5 to 5 watts per kilogram, because that is what he can recover at, because he's going to wait for that 6 to 7 up and over the top of Governor Street in just a moment. Perot now to the front. Now trying to shut things down a little bit here for Abus Synergy. It's 10 seconds still. 10 seconds can still still be chased back, but Paradine's on the front of the main group is not really working at this point. And because Kaminsky's out the front, coalition's not going to work. They may have this, but it's going to be touch and go all the way to the finish line as to whether or not that main pack is going to make the catch.
And don't forget, top 10. Those finishing in the top 10 will get the series pass. And when you take a look at the front group currently, Richard Barry, he's looking for one of those series passes, as is Arne Jacobs, Joel Lewis, Ricardo Panizza, Joe Pirot. So you've got riders here in this group who, just for finishing in the top 10, they're going to get one of those series passes, which is going to be crucial for those. And so there's a lot on the line, there's a lot at stake, and there's still some available. There's 2 available from the group behind, likewise.
Yeah, Joe Pauly now looking to go across. Huge move from him from the main pack, but there goes Kaminsky, seeing that they're starting to ramp up behind, says enough is enough. We got to press it now. So it's Perot and Kaminsky. Now, 1-2. Kaminsky continues to drive, and he's trying to make the move. We saw him win in the Zwift Games, that Tron bike. Very similar to this one. From a ways out, 700 meters to go. It looks like this is going to be at Milor sitting on. He is in the perfect position. We have not seen him on the front much at all, waiting and waiting. And I think for Milor, it's been all about the win. And he is set in 3rd place right now. Panizza, though, how is he still there? He has been doing this from the beginning of this race. Ricardo Panizza, what a race from him. He was one of the initials as well as Kaminsky, but now Kaminsky just made this hard from front to back. And will he win it outright?
This is incredible. For Kaminsky to be on the front for this amount of time, to still have the control at the front currently, but it's just waiting. Where's the move going to come from? Richard Barry with the aero power-up as he timed this right. Milor now drops the power-up too. Just moving forward. Kaminsky, what's he got left in the tank? 250 meters to go.
Jeff Milor, looks like Milor with the timing. Is it going to be perfect time from him? But no, it's too early with the arrow. Too early with the arrow. I think it's going to be Perot. Oh, it was right at the line. It was almost too close to call, but I think Joe Perot has made it happen and won his first ever Zwift World Series in the kickoff here.
Absolutely phenomenal. So close.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to wait a second here to really get the official, because that was almost, it looked like he had the wheel length on him, but we got to double check here just to make sure as they continue to come across the line. What a race by Milor and Perot. We did not see them one time at the front. I think their whole goal today was to make sure that they got the win. They left the preems alone. They made sure that they made every break that they needed to make, and it was Milor versus Perot in the end. We thought maybe Kaminsky could just make it hard enough from front to the back of this race, but wasn't going to be. And the savvy riders, they ended up playing it just right in the finish. It may have come down to that perfectly timed power-up from Joe Perot.
Just shows how crucial it is, Nathan, to have that timing right. We saw already with a couple of the riders, they went really early with the power-up, and sort of coming into the finish, it's already expired by that point. You don't forget, it's only 15 seconds long, but for Perot, it just timed it so well. Looks as though, I think for him and for, of course, he was one of those riders who didn't have a series pass, and so for Abus Synergy, one of those teams who just sat back. They were patient early on in the race. They didn't get themselves involved with all of the attacks early on, and I think that also takes a lot of experience to do so, to not be almost lured into all of the big attacks going early and to remain calm. I think that can take sometimes some good directing from your team manager to make sure let's stick to our plan. Let's not get lured into other teams' plans here.
Yeah, well, let's take a quick look at the results and see how things actually played out at the end of the day. And it was Joel Perot. He's going to grab 75 points. It was so close, a hundredth of a second, excuse me, there for Jeffrey Moreau and Joel Perot. It was Mikhail Kaminsky. Ended up playing out well for him at the end of the day, though, after all those attacks, taking third. Richard Berry's going to end up in fourth. That is a huge ride for Richard Berry. I have to say, I was kind of in the back of my head like, oh, come on, Richard, because he won his Irish National Championship last year. Now he's at the front end of the ZWS. It's great to see. Nicky Hug there in 11th. Stephen Kirchmer. It's going to be Daniel Turek. Adrian LeGriffin, the rider here coming through, also getting his series pass today. Arnie Jacobs. Junsei Honda. Then it's going to be Jasper Paradines in 17th. Thomas Perrin rounds up for 18th after a lot of attacks. Ends up fading a little bit, it looks like. Vidar Mail in 19th. Adrian Alvarado is going to be in 20th place. Then we're going out through, it looks like, top 30 with Johan Norris, Joe Lewis, Martin Meritens, Moritz Ritter. It's going to be Mark Santo, Lyle Viasen in 26th, Marcus Duval, Gavin Dempster for 28th, and Tatu Kostinen and Ben Mir for WoW Esports. That's your top 30. Back 24 seconds. You can see it was really a race of attrition out there, Hannah, with the way that this ended up playing out. But it's going to be Alexander Gagnon for 31st. It's going to be Rasmus Bertelsen. Ed Laverick for 33rd. Havard Yeldins in 34th. Simon Walter 35th. Oliver Simons in 36th. Matthew DeCock in 37th. Luke Elton in 38th. Matthias de Roos in 39th. And 40th place goes to Gel Power out there. So, Hannah, that race was actually insane. Like I was not I was expecting it to be hard, but I can't stress enough how I've never ever seen someone attack from the gun on a reverse descent governors and hold the gas. Like I've seen people do it, but it was like you just sit there and go, yeah, right, sure, okay, buddy. And it succeeded. Like that's I was wondering if there were some handshakes beforehand to say, hey guys, let's go. Or if they just were like, we're just going to make this happen. And the commitment you have to do something like that, even though they're within 2 to 3 seconds, is massive.
But it also takes the sting out of your rivals' legs too, doesn't it? Because maybe other riders of the teams weren't expecting it to go quite so early. And I just remind you of what OJ was saying earlier on, that this is a spicy course, it's a spicy race. And I think it's really played up to what we were hoping, what we were expecting for. And I think it just shows the difficulty of this kind of course, but also the variety and how open it can be. And I think it also, the way that the course is and the way it's been designed, it lends itself to really thrilling, exciting racing. And so if you're willing to take a risk, it can pay off. And we were talking about before, how's it going to be won? Is it going to be a breakaway solo? Is it going to be from a larger group? Is it going to be from a reduced front sprint? And that's exactly what we saw. But it seemed as though in the end, from those riders going for the victory, they were completely spent. They had nothing left in the tank because it has been so hard. And it was just a case of who was the brute strongest come the finish line.
Yeah, 100%. That's what Richmond does, that's for sure. Let's take a quick look at how things played out for the preems. The finish line podium here, as you can see, Joe Pro. It's going to be Jeffrey Milor and Mikhail Kaminsky for third. And then the preem winners, Adrian LeGriffin, our LeGriffindor. Great to see the new French fusion rider taking that down. Ollie Jones, Mikhail Kaminsky, both for Coalition coming across. And then that other preem across Broad Street Sprint ended up not being a sprint. Johan Noren, he goes from way out on the flats, actually immediately after the first sprint banner, and kicks it at 7 watts per kilogram, holds away. Arnie Jacobs made a good chase with the launch from Movistar, but was unable to close it down, but settles for that second across the preem. And Ricardo Paniza, you know, one of the hardest working on the day. Between him and Kaminsky, if I were allowed to give, almost a tie as far as most aggressive riders, because those two really threw down from beginning till the end of the race out there. One thing I definitely want to talk about as well is the depth of tactics that are happening in the background, Hannah. I think that, you might not see it up front, but the reality that these preems were almost all contested within 20 seconds of the main field, that the main field kept it there, tells you that the evolution, the growth and development of these teams, their tactics, their knowledge, this esport has really come to a very, very high level because of the amount of trust that you can have in how that tactic will play out and how much knowledge is in the DSs and in the teams and in the individual riders. For some people, they might just see the individual rider making a move here or making a move there, and this might be happening. But really, from seeing how that played out and thinking, oh, that's gone or this is gone or how it came back, there's really like 3, 4, 5, well, as many teams as there are orchestras going on in the background with conductors trying to make things happen.
Absolutely, and I love the way you put that with conductors trying to, guide the orchestra here. And I think when you take a look at these teams, Nathan, they're so stacked with the talent, but they've also got different kind of riders for different scenarios within the race. And I think also you come into this and everybody's fully committed, everybody's fully on board with the plan, with the tactic, what they want to do, the possibilities. And I always think you can have your plan, and that was clear for certain riders. And you think back to the very beginning of the race, and the riders, just taking a look down at my start sheet here, the riders that we had in the move, the fact that we had Kaminsky, who was in the move from the very beginning, Pim van Diemen, we had Sebastian Avo, we had Panizza, who was there. I mean, standout ride from the Italian Panizza, I have to say. But you've got that ability to have the strength within your team, but it's also you've got to try and adjust at some points. If you weren't in that group, you had to try and adjust your plan, because if you weren't represented, Aber Synergy weren't represented, we had Bismo powered by Rose, they weren't represented in the front group, we had Restart, they weren't in the front group, and so you've got to start to think, well, this could be a real danger here.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the reality of new riders that you don't really know what they have and their ability. I mean, Le Griffin's a huge, one with that. Frenchie Fusion and what they could pull off. So big days for a lot of new riders, as well as old school ones that we've seen many a times. Well, it sounds like we're going to jump in with OJ and the winner for a little bit of an interview. Let's head back on over to OJ for a chat.
Fabulous work, Nathan. Fabulous work, Hannah. They'll be back, of course, in the not-too-distant future as we get stuck into the women's race, which is coming soon, very, very soon. But we're going to try and chat to our winner of that race and what was a fabulous loop around Richmond, this brand new track. And that is Joe Perreault, who I believe we can maybe have a chance to chat to right now. Joe, can you hear us?
Yes, I do hear you.
Well, first off, congratulations, a fabulous win, especially on this first of these elite races. In your words, because that was a real brutal ending to that race, just talk us through how that finish worked out for you.
Yeah, it was a really, really strange race, so I could save some energy, and in the end I thought I'm not going to let surprise me anymore, so if there's going to go someone, I'm going to take that wheel, and we were gone with the group. So at the end, you felt in the group that there was one really strong guy, and there was Kaminsky, I think. And I had to follow him, and at the end, I hold my power up, so that was a smart move.
Very, very smart. I mean, Jeffrey Milor as well. I mean, he was right on your tail when it came to that sprint. At what point did you realise it was a drag race and it was a case of whoever can go the deepest is going to win this?
Yeah, I thought the line, I had some energy over, so I thought, no, it's all or nothing. And with the power up, I timed really well. So yeah, a little bit lucky, but everything is going well for the moment. The races in the summer were very good, so happy to take this one also.
Well, it's a great win, a really, really great win, and it was great to watch as well. And that was what I was going to ask you, actually, was Nathan mentioned it. When you look at Zwift racing, it's about power, it's about tactics, but it's also about knowing when to use these power-ups, being able to use them at the right point, and you seem to know how to do that.
Yeah, sure. I think I'm from the beginning on Zwift, and it's more tactic than you would think. It's you have still push the power, but you have to be smart.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations. Just a word about that loop as well, because obviously it's a brand new one. It's the first time we've seen it. You said it was a strange race in the sense that you got to save some power. What were you expecting going into it?
I did the qualifier, so I did the race. So I knew it was gonna be tough. The climbs follow up very fast, and you have to push around 500-600 watts for maybe a minute or more. So it's more like an interval.
Yeah, it's do you know what, you're saying that almost so deadpan of saying 500 or 600 watts for a minute. I mean, that is an absolute effort. Joe, thank you so much. Congratulations from everyone for a fabulous first win. It was great to watch you win there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Fabulous to talk to Joe then. It was a really, really good win on what has been a really great course. Actually, quick shout out as well to the dashboard. I absolutely loved using the dashboard because one of the things I've always loved about cycling and Zwift itself is all of the data. And it was great to be able to watch where people were and just be able to jump in and out and see that as it's happening. Watch it on the screen and get the data at the same time as well. Now, the top 3 riders from each team have earned points based on their finished position. We've seen Nathan and Hannah go through them. First place gets 1 point, second place 2 points. This will carry on through the series of 5 races. And the team with the lowest score at the end will be the winner of the team classification. It's another great competition for us to keep across. Don't forget the top place team in this race has earned themselves the $1,000 prize. And these are really great amounts of money that people are winning across the preems and across the team classifications and the win itself. So let's take a look at how the team classification stands after race 1. And Nathan, I believe, is going to take us through this. And we can see there's some big old points there, Nathan.
Yeah, it's great to see. Next Esports, you know, they may not have been there at the end necessarily for the win, but they definitely have a stacked team, and they'll take that $1,000 home with 206 points. Then it's going to be Coalition. They were chomping at the bit right on the heels of Next Esports. You can see them up toward the front, especially with Kaminsky, but we saw Ollie Jones, Lionel Viasin also making moves there for them. Avis Synergy are going to get third today, followed up by Restart. Great to see Restart presented by Alex Cole. They have been, you know, a rising team. They were started up just in the last couple of years with a resurgence actually of some top athletes, and it's great to see them ended up in that 4th. It's going to be Movistar E-Team in 5th, Team Swedish Zwifter 6th, Wahoo Esports in 7th, CryoDT in 8th, Cyrus Esports in 9th, and Hexagon rounding out the top 10, missing one of their top athletes, I think, that could have gotten them a ton of points on the day. So tough one on them for Hexagon today.
And Nathan, a quick question for you. For those of us who are new to Zwift Racing, if somebody's watching this for the first time, are they the teams you'd expect at the top of the standings so far?
Yeah, I mean, Next Esports have been known for being right there, always. One of the top teams in the world, as well as Coalition. They, you know, early on, as far as the formation of these esports teams, they solidified themselves as grabbing a lot of the top talent. Now, I did mention Restart there, though, because they are a team that has been getting a lot of the newer talent that has been popping up. You know, you've got riders like Hayden Pucker. You've got I mean, there's a ton of riders out there that have been jumping onto this team that are going to start being big representations, I think, at the top end of this esports. So, you know, as far as the one I would say definitely that was a surprise to me is Hexagon. That was a surprise to see Hexagon not involved at the very front, but I think they're missing a couple of their big hitters out there today.
And that's why we've got a series of races. So we'll see them in the next race. And talking of the next races, that is the men's race wrapped up. We head into the women's race. And before that, we've got a little treat for you. Because during the Zwift World Series, we really wanted you to get to know the riders behind the avatars. Because at the time, you'd be staring at your screen and you may not know who they are. So what we've asked them to do is to answer some taxing questions. Some I may or may not have come up with myself.
An ice cream sundae. There are some sprinkles in there which are a bit of fun, but you know, lots of different flavors are available, but always enjoyable.
Probably some sort of chili, how you like, it's not hot and then you have it and then it's hot.
Sushi. It's so well organized.
I actually don't know, but I eat a lot of salmon fish. Healthy. Kind of healthy.
Can champagne be a food?
Gladiator.
Gladiator.
Gladiator. Ooh, gladiator.
I actually really love the Minions.
The worst advice, one of my coaches when I was rowing, she once told me that I contributed absolutely nothing to the team and that I wasn't going to make it very far. So I think about that a lot. Thanks, Astrid.
Eat 5 gels before a race. Your stomach doesn't like it.
To drink beetroot juice before a race.
Worst advice I've ever received is probably to take up cycling.
Stop cycling, it's just really bad for you.
Me, an animal. I'm a Kung Fu Panda.
Probably the panda you can see in the background. There's types you want to sleep, then if you see food, you go for it.
I think probably a panda. I'm probably most like a panda, to be honest, with how clumsy they can be. So
I refer to myself as a salamander a lot. I'm really pale.
Tardigrade. They're small, mighty, and indestructible.
world records I never actually tried, and I will maybe try again after this 4 hours time trial. Longest possible for 24 hours.
Oh, probably fastest Everesting on a bike.
Yeah, I would say take the longest nap ever by being done by a human being. Because I just love sleeping.
A random, quite fun one maybe. How many Smarties could be eaten in 3 minutes with chopsticks? Currently the world record apparently is 175.
To go under 32 minutes up the Zwift.
My wish would be a sub 30-minute Alp to Zwift. I might need an e-bike for that one though.
One wish by the genie of Watopia. You know, I would say lift to the top of the Alp to Zwift.
Health and happiness for everyone riding on Zwift.
Yeah, the idea of a sub-30 Alp to Zwift makes me feel slightly sick inside. And also shout out to everyone who thought they were a panda. Not the animal that I thought people would be talking about. So let's move on to the women's race, shall we? Which we're very excited about. Our second of these 2 races in the Zwift World Series. And 2 weeks ago, to this very day, it was our women's open qualifier, which saw this absolutely fierce battle for those 26 qualification spots. And there was epic action all the way down to the finish line. So let's take a look at the highlights from the women's race and see who made it through to today. Yeah, that last climb is just heartbreaking there, isn't it? And we can see some of the names that have come through again. We will chat with Nathan to see who he's fancying for today's race. But Liz Van Houweling, Amelia Welch, Christy Tracy, and Nevin Brittany Litton we can see as the top 5 and all those great names through there. Now, those are our qualifiers, but the real question is, can they pull it off again today when they face off against our women's series pass race? The same as the men's race. This is a formidable crew with impressive track records. 3 top riders from each of last year's top 8 teams in the Zwift Grand Prix. They have earned themselves this golden ticket, this series pass to be part of all the Zwift World Series elite events, and now it's time to get familiar with those riders.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Colclough. I'm Alice Lethbridge Ariel Verheeren.
Celia Hansen.
I'm Gabriella Guerra.
I'm Gökçe Paul. Haley Simmons.
I'm Jan Riel.
Janne E.
Hey, my name is Catherine Fuhrer.
Hello, Oster Milange.
My name is Kristen Kolczynski.
Lisa Hermansson.
Lucy Harris.
Marine Moget.
Megan Raswell.
Melissa Aiken.
Mika Söderström. My name is Minna Goistinen.
Natalie Smith.
I'm Lou Bates. I'm racing in the Zwift World Series.
The women are very much on the start line, so I don't have tons of time here. But Nathan, let's take a look at who we think is going to do well here. And let's start with a certain surname I saw in there, which looks slightly familiar. Might be pronounced Guerra.
Yeah, Guerra. Guerra's how we say it around these parts. But yeah, Gabby's racing. I'll tip my hat as maybe a favorite out there today. But there's a couple others definitely when it comes to series pass riders. You can't go past Catherine Furr. I mean, you've got your Zwift Games winner. She's been absolutely on fire. Never go past Catherine Furr. You know, also, You know, I'm going to throw an Ariel Verhaeren out there. She's been racing in real life, lots of crit racing. She's got the punch in her. And when Ariel is motivated, now whether or not she's been motivated in training recently or just focused on recovering from crit racing, that's going to be a question. But if she's got a kick, be on the watch out for Verhaeren for sure. Liz Van Houweling, she kind of rode her way into that qualifier pretty, like, I felt like she was breathing through her nose a little bit and then kicked across the line. So I want to see what Liz is going to show up with when it comes to ZWS main event. That's a big question when it comes to a qualified rider. So those are my picks out there today.
We're not that far away from the start either. So we heard what the men thought about this brand new course. Let's feel what some of the women think about this new course. And let's get to meet them.
My name is Ariel Verhaeren. I am 38 years old, and I live in the United States of America. I race for Aeonian Race Team, and my riding style is a bit tactical, a bit crafty, and I'm a puncher.
I'm Alice Lethbridge. I'm 39. I ride for Coalition Alpha. I'm from the UK, and I'm quite a punchy rider who likes the short hills.
I am Gabriela Guerra. I am originally from Brazil. I am currently 29 years old. By October, I will be 30. I'm riding for Wahoo Esports this year, and my riding style, I guess, is fast.
I'm Melissa Aiken. I'm 34 years old. I am an American, and I ride for Virginia's Blue Ridge Team 2024. My riding style is long, sustained climbs is where I do best, races of attrition, and then also short, punchy efforts with little recovery.
My name is Mika Söderström. I'm 25 years old. I'm from Sweden, and I race with Wahoo Esports.
My name is Minna Koistinen, and I am 38 years old. I'm Finnish. My team is Crew RDT, and my riding style is to show up when it counts. That's RDT to a Finnish. That's really difficult to pronounce.
So my name is Natalie Smith. I'm 43 from New Zealand. So I'm riding for Team Ceres, and I'm probably best described as a bit of a diesel engine developed over my years as a bit of an Ironman athlete.
I am Tilly Field. I am 31 years old. I forgot now. I think I'm 31. I'm Australian. I ride for the Movistar Esports team, and my riding style is quite punchy. I would say I'm a sprinter when it comes to Zwift, or like 1 minute max punchy sort of rider.
Short climbs.
Always turning.
Cobbles and climbing.
Hard and fun.
Punchy and fun.
Total carnage.
Punchy and brutal.
I think race wins are special.
Race win.
Race win.
I think prime on this one.
Prime.
Race win.
Race win, definitely.
Lou was I think the strongest woman last year, so watch out for her.
There's so many good punchy riders out there, but for that course, I would say Lou Bates is definitely a rider to watch for that course.
Katrin Führer and Lou Bates.
Catherine Führer.
Can I give two? I'd say people like Cecilia and Catherine Führer.
Mika Söderström, for sure, the strongest sprinter out there.
And my guess is the race will be won in a small group bunch sprint.
I think the race could be won by a group breakaway.
Breakaway for this one.
An all-out attack in the last climb section.
Decimated group.
I think it will be a small group and someone taking a risk.
I'm hoping in a bunch sprint.
You know, I've loved all of the Grand Prix and Premier Divisions that we've done on the UCI Worlds course.
With Beast Mode, Powered by Rose, on a season where we had the Points Hunter, and it was just really fun to punchy over and over again over the climbs.
I don't remember, I was in too much pain.
A race against Emma Belfort in the Swedish Cup Series.
Oh gosh, I probably just racing in the USA National Championships this last season.
I think one of my first ever races on Zwift was in Richmond, so yeah, I have pretty fond memories. I think it was a community race over COVID lockdown.
They're great, these videos. I think obviously we hear the names, we see them racing, we see their avatars, but getting to know them as well and getting to know their thoughts on things. And just shout out, I think it was Tilly who said it, which was, what is your thoughts when it comes to Richmond? And the answer was, I don't know, I was in too much pain. That's pretty much whenever I race on Zwift. It's absolutely that. You get to the end and go, what's happened? Anyway, the time for talking is now done. For those about to race, we salute them. It's time to start their engines, and let's head over to our second race, the women's race around this fabulous, amazing Richmond Loop Around, which, as we saw from the men's race, was full-on chaos from the start. It was attacks from the start. So, Nathan Guerra, Hannah Walker, let's get this on.
One thing I definitely want to highlight as we get the start going here is, will we see a similar situation with initial kicks? It worked in the men's race. Are there going to be some brave women out here trying to make some moves early on? Is going to be a big question. One other thing is we've got some movements across teams that have been doing some trading, teams that have been picking up new riders, or riders swapping teams. It's going to change things up a little bit out here, I think, Hannah, for the women's field.
Yeah, I think it certainly will, and I think it's how well have they been able to gel, but also, you know, fitting right into a team. You come in, you know, different tactics, different ways of racing too, perhaps from what you might be used to from your previous team. And so I think that's really, really interesting. But you can already see the speed of this race so far on this descent, 65 kilometers per hour. It's a really fast descent. You've got all of your normal big names that you're always used to seeing up towards the front currently, with Fiora, we've got Colclough there, Rhiannon Denton, the British rider Kolczynski's up there, as well as Brown and Hayley Simmons.
The first real answers to this race are going to be coming at us in just a moment here on 23rd Street. We'll see how they attack it, whether or not it's going to be Grupo Compacto, or if they're going to make some early attacks. Are we going to be riding safe for this first time up and over the top of these three? Are we going to see people trying to break it right from the get-go? That's going to be the big question out here today. Now toward the front, it looks like it is going to be Marine Monge from France here. She is a World Series rider. Now this is a name, Amelia Welte. She is a new rider to the scene. She is not a ZWS verified rider yet, but she qualified, and she was somebody that I think we need to watch out for because of what she did in that qualifier race. Now here's Liz Van Houweling in the new Next Esports kit. Absolutely love their new in real life digs, and we'll see what she's got up on the top of this first 23rd as they start the first climb of the day.
Yeah, I'm in with you. I like the new kit. It's very different to what we've seen in the past. I like the little fade. Very, very good. And Liz Van Houweling is certainly one of those riders to watch out for, particularly on this kind of course, I think. She's very punchy. She's very fast. She's got some incredible experience. You can just see she's just biding her time, sitting in the wheels. Got a couple of the riders of Saris just in front of her. Behind her, sorry.
I didn't realize this. Is this right? Catherine Furr over to Aeonian. That is a huge pickup. She was on 2024, now 2028, Virginia's Blue Ridge, and now Catherine Furr riding for Aeonian. Aeonian, already one of the most dominant teams in the world of esports, has just picked up the 2024 Zwift Games winner as well. So, and the Swiss national champion. Her former teammate, Kristen Kolczynski, now up against her instead of riding with her. Kolczynski now making her way up toward the front as well. You get a nice little look here of where everything stands, though, on the overlays here. Absolutely love the work Zwift has put together for that.
Yeah, likewise. And it's not just the overlays and giving you the information of what you're looking at on the screen, where you can find the data, but also with the website that they've put together, Nathan. You've got the Zwift World Series dashboard, so if you can go to www.zwiftworldseries.com, you can take a look at the website. You can see all of the information about the riders. You can look at the live dashboard with all of the data of these riders. It's also, the link is pinned in the YouTube chat as well for those watching on YouTube. So it's a really handy website for fans. So you've got everything you need to know about the races. And I think having that live data for not just us to be able to look at, Nathan, but fans at home is excellent as well. You know, you can see the groups on the road. You can see when they've got 3 or more seconds. I think it's a really, really handy little tool. So you can go to www.zwiftworldseries.com for that. Oh, by the way,
Haley
works best
Simmons
on Chrome.
now. Yeah, it does. It works. You definitely need to know that. We need it functioning, that's for sure. Now, you can see Haley Simmons there, the first couple of climbs here, putting a little bit of sting in the legs. She was getting back on terms as a few other riders it seemed like were falling off. And the reason that was happening, Catherine Furr took full advantage of that uphill roll-through speed on that Golden Tron and made a little bit of a move even to press the pace and is already starting to split the field behind. Now the roll-through onto the downhill, and it looks like Haley Simmons getting back on terms and makes her way right to the front. We've got to look here at Gabriela Guerra. Looks nice and calm, and I did see her getting right to the wheel immediately. Herself and Lou Bates, both of them marking the athlete they need to mark. They know they need to mark, and that was Catherine Furr. They've raced with her so many times. They know they do not want to give her any leeway, so they immediately found the wheel and then backed right on off to make sure that they were with it.
Absolutely, and I think for you were mentioning about Haley Simmons before. She's a rider who has got a really big engine. She's incredibly strong. A really hard attritional race suits her far better than it coming down to a bunch sprint, for example, or even a reduced sprint. And so for the rider from Movistar, the British rider who's been a multiple-time national champion, she's been a record holder across time trials in the UK, across 10-mile and 25-mile time trials. You can see she's been really acute to this, always keeping herself up towards the front. Cole Clough is there. Sammy Stewart's incredibly strong, fast rider too. Lou Bates. They just keep coming. You take a look how stacked this field is, Nathan, quite honestly. And Lou Bates is one of those riders, so much experience, excellent on the climbs, and particularly these short, sharp, punchy climbs. It really favours her. She's been a British hill climb champion in the past. She's really good at the intensity.
Yeah. Lou Bates is one of those who likes to just drive the pace when it gets difficult. She can throw down a solid, 30 seconds to a minute and a half, 90-second effort that's just absolutely insane. After throwing down a VO2 max effort, she can continue on over the top of that. Now, if it comes down to a full-on just punch, and it isn't just, I don't think it's going to be that way. I think that there's enough riders here that just like to make the racing hard, that it's going to be very difficult to just have a pure sprinter win outright in this race. But Lou Bates is going to be watching out for somebody like Mika Soderstrom to be on her wheel, because if Mika gets a ride to the finish line, she's got one of the best kicks in the world, that's for sure. So we'll see how the Swedish national champion shows up out here today. Getting a look here at Rian Denton from Roka Korba, holding on with the main pack at this point. The next section, of course, they're going to be thinking about, that's going to be in these riders' minds as they focus in on the screens in front of them, is going to be the Governor Street climb in just a moment. They took on 23rd Street and Libby Hill reverses for the first time. They're going to do Governors for the first time in just a moment here. We'll see how that sets up.
You can just see how Rian Denton there, the British rider for Roku Korba Cycling, she's got the fan right in front of her just to try and keep herself as cool as possible, and we all know, even before the race, you're wanting to do your warm-up to almost get your engine warmed up, get yourself set, but at the same time, you're wanting to make sure that you're keeping your core body temperature as cool as possible. So for Ariel Vahar and for all of these riders, they'll make sure that they've got air conditioning on, or they've got a couple of fans to just keep themselves as cool as possible, because it can really start to affect your performance. If you start to overheat, your core body temperature starts to rise, and it's not just the efforts which are going to make you and your core body temperature start to rise, but also for the heat in the room where you are, just trying to keep that as cool as possible. And you can see here with Lucy Harris, even with the fan not just in front of her but behind her too.
One rider we just saw a moment ago, Ariel Vahar, and she has been racing crits all summer long. It'd be interesting to me to see how that's going to translate over into the Zwift racing. She was extremely strong. We actually saw her at Tour of America's Dairyland, and where Gabriella was racing against her actually in real life a bit. And now taking it over into the virtual world. Oh, we're seeing a Movistar rider maybe making a little bit of a move. I'm seeing now off the front to Ted. There goes the blue and black, it seems like. Alice Lethbridge's not looking too worried about it. Now another move, it looks like, is that going to be Coalition looking to follow? So before we even hit Governors, a couple of moves going, and you see Coalition going. That may be Lou Bates actually trying to make a move, or is that going to be Haley Simmons, followed by Ann Nevin, excuse me. Meyer there, Litton, Fleur now maybe not too concerned with this, but just making sure that she is in the right position for a break that might be going. Gare's looking to follow, Holcroft is there, Lethbridge as well. So brought back Simmons. I liked a little bit of a move that she's making. Now over the top, it's going to be Ferrer though, but only 4.7. Not a real kick by Ferrer. It was just a cover and kill, I think.
But you can see, as I said before, with Haley Simmons, she really thrives on making a race hard and being able to sustain the power for a long time. It's all come back together as the road started to drag. 4%. Amelia Velter, the German rider, who isn't one of the riders who holds the series pass currently, the German from Abus Synergy, she's up towards the front, as is Maria Holdcroft. Hermansen is there, the Swedish rider, and Lucy Harris, who has been a real revelation, particularly in the British scene over the last 6 months in terms of road racing. She's been incredibly strong. Holdcroft very, very
Nice job
calm,
from Holdcroft.
composed. I agree.
Yeah, it looks like she's got her own little riding area, and it looks like there's two separated with somebody riding Zwift off in the background there too. Nice to see. Love that setup that they got going on there. Now this is where things get real. When it comes, you can get those two first punches out of the way, reverse, 23rd, reverse, Libby, but then this longer extended climb, this is the one that's really going to be telling whether or not you're going to be hanging out with this main group out here today, I think. 6 watts per kilogram toward the front just to hang on. You've got to be throwing down 5 or so, and we do see a few riders starting to fall off the back now at this point. So if they press the pace, though, they can whittle this down. That might be the name of the game out here today, is just little by little whittling this down rather than one big punch. Riding for a little bit of safety, but also trusting your fitness to take you all the way to the back end of this race.
Absolutely, and I think one thing that we've seen so far is the pace has been relentless at times, but it's been so different to what we saw in the men's race. And so I think, as I said before, it just shows on this kind of course there's so many different ways that you can race on this Richmond Loop Around route. And there's so many different ways and tactics that teams can deploy as well. And so it's so open to so many different kinds of riders. And when you see, Alice Lethbridge, another incredibly strong rider who she really thrives at being able to maintain a high pace. She's good on the short punchy climbs. She's another excellent time trialist that comes from the south of England. As we're on board with Annie Poland.
Yeah, great to see Annie. She's actually a rider who does live stream as well. She's got a great Twitch channel, Clickbait Racing, actually, over on Twitch. So most likely has a live stream going. Has made the main pack now. That's a big jump, actually, for Annie Poland in some ways. She's, I'd say, she was a rider who was just making that lead group, and now I think she's established herself that, look, I belong right here amongst this top 20 to 30 women in the world.
Actually, I think that's the beauty of it, Nathan. When we see these riders and being able to prove what they're able to do and show, well, I can be here. I can be one of the best racers, and this is a rider who is proven that with Kristen Kulczynski. She's not one of those riders that's come from the road or from cyclocross or any other cycling background, but starting right here on Zwift. And you see what she's achieved over the last 4 years, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. The way in which she's able to race and the way in which she's able to win, and you see year after year how much she's able to learn and to absorb, and she's really willing to be a daring kind of rider. And she's willing to take all of that information from others who are wanting to try and help. And I think they've had an excellent team within the Virginia's Blue Ridge 2028 team, as they're of course now known, from 2024 to 2028. And one little change within their squad.
Sarah Roach here, riding for Avis Synergy. Good to see her showing up. One of the top competitors out of the USA. Poland here shutting things down and bringing back Alice Lethbridge at the front, and now it's going to get into that 57 kilometer plus with the pack all together. Usually they just let it snowball then at that point, as they're going to be focused, really focused on the climb that's going to be coming at them pretty quickly. A couple of riders off the back just maybe rejoining, actually. That's going to be Duzhin and Shanks from Next Esports, just being able to grab back on. Arya Vaharan all the way at the back of the pack. As we see the riders here now really focused in, though. It's going to be Schneider here that we're looking at right now, looking forward to that second time up and over the top of 23rd reverse. The first time up, it was all Grupo Compacto. I wonder with a little more of the energy drained from the legs, if we're going to see anybody trying to make any moves, or is everybody kind of thinking about that $1,000 preem? You know, I have a feeling that that's what's going on in a lot of the riders' head, is that the real race at this moment in their head might be more about that $1,000 preem and not wasting energy until that moment, just making sure you make every move as people put little digs off the front.
But it's really important. $1,000 to the first rider crossing the line, as well as a series pass that's up for grabs. And so I think everybody is really thinking about the prize that's on offer. As you take a look, we've got 31.9 kilometers to go, 16 minutes into the race so far. You can see the gradient 2 in the top right hand corner of the screen. Right now 35 kilometers per hour, but there's a lot at stake here, Nathan. And so it doesn't surprise me that maybe some riders are really thinking about that. But I think you only have to look at riders who are distanced so far and right at the back. We've got several riders who the pace has been high, and I think that's been hard to see, really, of how hard it's been. Jen Reel is at 13 seconds. We've got Egqvist, the Swedish rider, at 13 seconds. We've got Kat Ridgway, Nicola Turkova, Leah Sophie Ramert, as well as Sarah Olim, who are at over 1 minute behind, as well as Josie Rossignol. So there's several riders who are distanced out the back. Heather Shanks, Sammy Stewart's been yo-yoing away. It's not been easy at all.
Everyone matching the efforts here now at the front. There were no serious attacks. I didn't see any real orange numbers at this point. So it's telling me that this is a very savvy crew. They're really holding their cards. It's hold 'em at this moment. You know, if we're going to use a poker reference, everybody's holding their cards really close, not really showing anything. No big bets just as yet. They're waiting for a little bit later on in the race. I have a feeling this next time over Governors, we may see a little bit of a press of the pace. Perhaps, maybe we'll see him also press here with the roll-through speed. This section, of course, the downhill off of 23rd right here, you can really take advantage of this section of course action. You sit mid-pack to the back of this. I talk about this a lot because it's so crucial, though, because you don't really have to work for the speed if you're sitting middle. Now you can see everybody roll through because it's such a steep downhill, and then if you time things correctly and you punch at just the right time, you can reserve energy right to the last minute. Now we've actually seen aero power-ups being used, it looks like. That's going to be Kristen Kolczynski, I think, actually on a move at the front here, knowing that this is one of the sharpest sections. Of course, she loves it when it goes uphill. She's got a little bit of a gap now at this point. Mika now sitting in, huge grind there. Big gear, it looks like, coming from Mika as Kolczynski attacks a little bit off the front. Guerra covers, Bates covers, London's there, Führer's there. Everybody you would expect now at this point. There is going to be a little bit of separation. And again, it's the whittling effect. They're just sharpening this a little by little as riders fall off the back.
But when you've got these big punches and you've got the high power from those who are always so prominent towards the front of a race, and particularly with a race like this nature with Kolczynski, Bates, Guerra, Führer, Soderstrom, these really strong riders, everybody else is going to be in the suffer box. Everybody else is going to be in the hurt locker just trying to close up. And take a look at this brilliant bird's eye shot here of how stretched out things are just by the impetus and the pressure being applied by Kolczynski right up towards the front here. And for some riders, yes, it might come back together if it starts to ease up and the pace lets up. But you've made a big dent into your resources by trying to come back here, Nathan. And for some of these riders, they're going to be really suffering. I mean, you only have to look at Hermansson, and we're with Lundin right now, the Swedish rider. Look at the pain face. It was still, there's very little movement in the upper body. Gets herself up to just over 70 kilometers per hour into the super tuck. Inside 30 kilometers to go.
London, interesting enough here, Hannah, the way London pushed that, I think that was completely about trying to get the separation to happen. If they continue on at this point, it will separate again. Riders who are making this lead group right now will be hurting. If this continues on in this pace, some will be able to sit in a little bit, but there's people chasing behind, only 1 second back, but they weren't able to make this front group. They continue all the way through the flat. Kolchinski can see it. Kolchinski, she can taste it. She can see right now this is the moment of truth for the race. She knows that this is a decision moment, and she does not want to bring anybody else with her at this point from that group behind. She wants to snap it, and she is going. Off the front at this point, 4.4 watts per kilogram. Kristen Kolchinski wants to make this ride hard from the beginning to the finish. She's off the front, 45 kilometers per hour, and nobody's responding from the main pack. They're trusting they're going to bring her back, but this is how Kristen likes to ride. She's a hill climber. She's winning in real life, left, right, and center right now for those hill climb championships. And now you can see right now, off the front, she wants to just go ride her own race, her own pace, and not mess around with these tactics in the pack.
And she's got this ability to maintain this. And she just wants to try and snap everybody. And she's such a powerful rider, and she's so incredibly smart. And you take a look at how composed she makes things. But look at the data there. She's got 66 revolutions per minute, 43 kilometers per hour. You know, her heart rate, she's nowhere near the top part of her heart rate. And 250 beats per minute.
Yeah, Kristen Kolchinski here now, she can see that they're letting her go. Punch it up into 7 watts per kilogram up and over the top of that little 3% gradient. Need her to keep it as high, the speed as high as she possibly can. Now we can see Maria Holdcroft, though, saying, no, we can't let this happen. Now Gara, a little bit of a move there as well, making sure Holdcroft's not going anywhere. There goes Catherine Furr. Catherine Furr, 8 watts per kilogram. Now Gara responds, and they're kind of just responding to each other, actually. It's not really like anybody's going. They're all just like, are you going? Are you going? No, I'm going to cover. I'm going to cover. And now Furr backs off. But, you know, that also just keeps the speed high. Whoa, up and over the top, though. Liz Van Houweling thinking that something might go. Mika now responding. Everybody wondering who's going to be the one that drives this back. But they're also saying, if we let Kristen go, that is danger. And these little surges, they turn into this snowballing effect on a flat. You can also do that with riders going over the top of each other. If they consistently do that, you can slingshot the speed, which then keeps Kristen within 10 seconds now at this point. It's hovering right at that 9:10, 9:10. Maybe, though, the setup here is a bridge over the top of Governors and completely blow this race apart. I predict that's what's about to happen.
You just get the sense that there's just going to be a huge explosion. There's a couple of riders who are just making their way back on here in the white and pink jerseys. Sarah's coming back with 2 riders, Rathwell being one of those. That's Megan Rathwell, the Canadian rider. Talking about those preems, 4.8 kilometers to go until we get to the first preem there on the Queen of the Mountain. $500 for the first rider to cross the line. $200 for second, $100 for third, and of course, I said before, $1,000, but $1,000 between the 2 preems that we'll have here on the 23rd Street preem, and then of course the Broad Street sprint. It's big money on offer.
Kolchinski now with 13 seconds, starting to get out to danger zone, it looks like here, but they have not started to climb yet. Holdcroft now kicks 7 watts per kilogram from Maria Holdcroft at the front, knowing that this may be one of the deciding moments, and she's setting up at the front to make sure that she is not out of position. Gara now going 7 watts per kilogram from her. Welte's there as well. Hansen, Cecilia Hansen, someone we haven't talked about in quite a while, actually, the Swedish rider who has been at the top at Worlds, actually. Cecilia Hansen, watch out for her, maybe coming out of nowhere, as we haven't heard much from her lately. Now now it's going to be all the big names making the way to the front, Hannah.
It certainly is, and I think that's the beauty. You come into a new series here, Nathan, and for those riders, and particularly Cecilia Hansen, one of the OGs, one of the originals, and you think of how much experience she's got, and you know, for these riders, they've had that summer to put in the hard yards, put in the hard work coming into a new series, and don't forget, this is a series that goes all the way through to January, and so you've got to be able to hold the form for a long period of time. We see the French rider here from Hexagon, Marine Morget. You can just see conducting what she wants. Sitting right in the middle of the pack.
You can see how difficult the pace is now at this point. Kristen Kolchinski just punched again at 7 watts per kilogram. They are doing everything they possibly can. Well, she's doing everything she possibly can to hold this pack off. I'm wondering if this is actually about the first preem, or, I mean, well, with this amount of a gap, though, at this point, this could just be about the race win outright. I mean, Kolchinski can do this kind of an effort for the entirety of the rest of this race at this point. A 1 hour effort at 5.0 plus is not outside of her wheelhouse. Lou Bates maybe knowing that danger is there. Now we're looking at Lisa Hermanson sitting in a little bit at the front of this pack. It's Welty now making her way to the front, 6 watts per kilogram. Kolchinski over the top, backs off the 4.5, 37, 38 kilometers per hour, maybe a little bit later, in about 19 seconds or so. We'll see what they're able to hold over the top, because they're going to have to do better than 39 kilometers per hour as Kolchinski wraps it back up over 40. This is an interesting situation we have playing out here. Can they close that down before the top of that premer? She's just going to walk away with this one.
She's got the capability to, Nathan. And I think the way that, as I said before, she's such a bold, daring rider, and she's got the engine to do so. She gets to 20 seconds. Emilia Welter, the German, who's right on the front, as well as Katrin Führer, the Swiss rider, on the front of the peloton right now. And you only have to take a look at what she's able to maintain and how she's so consistent with her effort and her power output. She's so even, and she's got this ability to just manage it in a linear way. And for several riders, big name riders are no longer even in the group behind. You take a look at Jen Reel's no longer there. Hayley Simmons, she's tried, but she's now 1 minute 13 down. Marlene Proust at 1:41. You've got Rose Doing at 2 minutes and 9 seconds. And so there's been a lot of damage done currently. And you take a look, it's just growing, continuing to grow. 25 seconds now.
And a big kick for Mika Soderstrom in the group behind now at this point. Wahoo Esports now starting to get involved at the front to make sure that this might come back. Not letting it go too far out now at this point. It's going to be Meyer. Soderstrom now making a little bit of a move, getting up to 46 kilometers per hour. They brought back 2 seconds immediately here. Will they continue? Maria Holcroft now up and over the top. Guerra now going. Big move from Gabriela Guerra up into 6 watts per kilogram to keep the pace high at this point. Lou Bates there right on the wheel, and that's going to bring back some seconds real quickly. If they can keep this speed up, it's going to have to keep slingshotting, though. It can't be just a single rider over and over again. Furr now to the front, 5.0, and now the work is starting.
Wow. Führer with some serious power there, Nathan. Just coming around. Mika Soderstrom is just sitting in fifth wheel from this group currently. But you're quite right. If they can keep this rolling here, they can keep this going. They've taken 6 seconds out of the lead of Kolchinski. But what it's going to take here as we go into 23.6 kilometers to go, 1.5 kilometers from the preem itself, it's going to take that consistent pace, a little bit of cohesion.
They got up to 70K an hour actually on that descent. I have a feeling that it's going to be a tough one here for Kolchinski. She's doing 50-51. They're going to roll through with so much speed onto this downhill. That snowball effect. Kolchinski is going to have to put everything she has for this preem, because those seconds are coming back quickly, and they will quickly disappear on that uphill, because they're going to be throwing down orange numbers all the way to the top of this thing, fighting for the cash prizes. And those riders that are looking looking for a series pass, they're going to put it all in for it as well. It's only Kronqvist and I believe a few others. I'll see if I can get Cecilia Hansen looking for a series pass here as well. Not too many have made this league group actually, but now it's BL13. They're going to be off the front just a little bit here. Who's making that move from BL13? It's actually going to be Meyer, the French woman. But Kolczynski heading into the climb now. Can she hold off? She's got 13 seconds.
13 seconds is going to be a tough ask for any of these riders if they are looking for that series pass to try and close back to Kolczynski. 13 seconds. Meyer is in the chase in second currently. Meyer is one of those riders who's looking for a series pass, as is, you see, Holdcroft coming through. She's also looking for the series pass. I think it's going to be all but too late. They've just got her up there in the sights.
Yeah, now the full gas effort's coming from behind here. Lou Bates now. 11 watts per kilogram, Lou Bates, 8 seconds up the road. Kolczynski's within sight. She's closing it so incredibly quickly. The coalition rider is full gas, all in. And will she catch her at the line? The speed is so high. Kolczynski's fading. It looks like Bates is going to do it. Lou Bates over the top, all in, takes down the 23rd Street. Will Kolczynski hold on, I think, for second, but Bates gets it done. What a move from Lou Bates. Kolczynski settles for second. It's going to be Guerra coming in for third on that ride. Wow. Lou Bates has shown us that she is prepped and ready for ZWS.
Absolutely incredible. And you saw that picture-in-picture there of Lou Bates. Look how strong she looks. She's come into this series with fine form. She gets Kolczynski on the line to take the series pass, but of course she's already got one for the series, so that doesn't go down to any of the other riders who are the next best place. Kolczynski in second, Guerra in third, and don't forget, $500 for Lou Bates there. At the line, 200 to Kolczynski, 100 to Guerra. 16% now.
Yeah, and this is a crucial moment for the rest of the racers out here today, because we've got 4-5 now with Mika just getting back on terms. Cecilia Hansen looking to get back involved. Liz Van Houweling 2 seconds back, but 2 seconds is everything right now. Kolczynski just hanging on after being off the front. Everybody's absolutely suffering. And Catherine Furr from Aeonian here, your Zwift Games champion, is now pressing the pace. This is the separation moment. This is the deciding moment of the race about who's going to be there in the end. And it's Furr, Guerra, Soderstrom, Kolczynski, Bates, Hansen just hanging on. Van Houweling's off the back by 4 seconds now at this point, fading to 2.4, and I think that's said and done. This is your lead group.
And for those riders who've gone so deep already, Nathan, into that preem on 23rd Street, if you are not able to recover and you're losing the wheel, and you take a look already in the top 10, look at the gaps that are opening up. You've got Nevin, who's in 8th place. She's at 17 seconds to Greta, who's leading the pack here. It's so much to do. And if you're already into the red and you've already gone far too deep, there's no coming back from being into the red here, Nathan, at all. Fura, Soderstrom, Kolczynski, Bates, Guerra. Fura looks just so calm. Taking on a gel. She's well within her position. She's another incredibly strong rider. So physically strong, mentally strong too.
Getting the gel open there for her. They're taking on some sugar. There's going to be a lot of sugar intake, I think, on this one. This is the kind of course that just burns through those glycogen stores, that's for sure. And Catherine here taking some more on just to make sure that she's got something in the tank for later on. Everybody's just going to kind of be watching each other now at this point. These riders, they know, don't they, Hannah, at this point, who is who amongst them, and that they can trust that this will happen again at the hard points of the race. They know that this is who's going to make it from here. Anybody who's fallen off at this point, in the back of your head, you're thinking, no, this is who I'm really racing. We don't have to do too much to keep those other riders off the wheels at this point, because we have established ourselves as the cream of the crop.
Totally. Totally. And you take a look at who's in the front group. You've got Guerra and you've got Söderström, who are both from Wahoo Esports. So you've got two teammates who are in the front group currently. And, they're in a really, really strong position. Lou Bates of Coalition in the group. We already saw Virginia Blue Ridge 2028. Kulczynski has managed to remain there. Then, of course, you've got Führer from Ionian. So these riders, they all know each other. They all know what their strengths and their capabilities are. And, of course, for Führer, she's got a teammate in Hansen there. So how can you try and use the numerical advantage in the group, but also you've got the cream of the crop in the front. These are the big names that we've been seeing for the last 4 or 5 years for some of these riders, and particularly Hansen, as I said before, one of the OGs.
Interesting to see Kulczynski making another move, and that's a smart move actually by Kulczynski in my opinion. She's going to have her coach, most likely Josh Lipka, in ear, de-essing her through this and saying, look, you don't want it to come down to the line. You don't want to be in a sprint with these ladies. You have to break them. That's your ace up your sleeve. And playing those aces when she can is going to be the smart move. Guerra now following very quickly. Führer right on the wheel as well. A big question for me is, what does Cecilia Hansen have in the tank? She's kind of a dark horse. I know it's funny for me to say that, but we haven't seen her up against these ladies in quite a while, actually. So what is she going to bring to the table here, and how does she change things up? Has she been sitting on and waiting for that final? We've seen her win in finals like this Richmond final many times before. Is Cecilia Hansen saving something up for the finish? The other question mark that we have in mind now as well, good call out there, is the fact that Guerra and Söderström, same team now. And that is a recent pickup by both. Both of them moving over to Wahoo Esports now. And, they are known to be one of the best tactical teams in the game. What do they have to play with here?
Absolutely. And I think if you do have that numerical advantage, the fact that Guerra and with Söderström on the same team, then, of course, as I said before, you've got Führer, you've got Hansen, who are on the same team. For Bates and for Kulczynski, they don't have that luxury. They don't have riders there. So, for Kulczynski, if she can try and ride to her forte, we've seen Bates, she can do so much damage on her own. She's incredibly strong on the climbs. She's incredibly fast. You can see that she can sprint for a very, very long time and close a considerable advantage. And so if you're a sole rider, how would you play this? Is several more riders have got themselves back through, all coming back together. Inside 18 kilometers to go.
A big ride from London, actually. I'm really impressed by that ride coming in from London. Not a rider that I've seen at the front end of these races at this level before, so to be in and involved here, Liz Van Houwen's going to be really happy with getting back up toward the front here as well. So, I wonder, did Ariel Verhaeren also make it back in here? Charlotte
She did.
Kolkloff. So, yeah, a couple of big names. Maybe can they get some recovery in the legs? Is it going to slow down enough a little bit to try and make something happen later in the race for some of these riders? I mean, there's renewed hope with some of these riders out here that we spoke about being favorites.
Yeah, totally. And you have got this part of the course here, Nathan, where you can get some sort of recovery respite. You can use the wheels, try and recover from the hard efforts already. But even taking a look at Lundin, the Swedish rider, the way in which she's racing, she's so solid. There's very little movement from the hips, from the upper body, but even just from the pain face and from the grimace on the face shows it's not easy whatsoever. And you can see these little punches and kicks along the way. 5% here. We've been racing for coming up to 40 minutes, and the pace up this little climb at 27 kilometers per hour. But we've really got a select group of riders who are clear here. We've got 16 riders who are in the group: Coldcroft, Hansen, Van Hoeling, who we saw, Jenny Egg, the Finnish rider, Führer, Hermansson, several Swedish riders here. So they've come in with some brilliant form.
Solid gap of about 45 seconds back to 17th place chase group. It's 16 riders. In the main here, Jenny Eck, Kirsten Kolchinsky, Sarah London, Charlotte Kolkloff, Liz Van Houwen's there, Catherine Furr, as well, Ariel Varharen, Gabriela Guerra, Cecilia Hansen, and Nevin. Alice Lethbridge, did Alice Lethbridge actually make this front? Amazing job here from Lethbridge as well. You know, this is a rider who's loves attrition. You know, if she can, play her cards right, be on the watch out for Lethbridge. We've seen her win at a high level as well. Hermanson here, breakout ride here coming in from Hermanson. So great job by all of these ladies. This is your top 16 now. But the question over the top of this Governor Street, is somebody going to push the pace with that left-hand turn onto the traditional forward Richmond course? We are looking forward to the Broad Street Sprint. That's the next section that we are looking forward for some cash on the line, as well as a ZWS. Hansen is going to be looking for that ZWS verified badge to be a Zwift World Series rider. I think she's the only rider that is looking for that in this lead group. Everybody else has a series pass already, it looks like. Cecilia Hansen, the only one who's going to be trying to hunt that down, or just grabbing a top 10. That may also be her what she's looking forward to, because she did make that top 6 to 7 that we saw over the top of the climbs recently. So I think Cecilia's feeling pretty good about her chances for that right now.
Definitely. Just looking down as well, Nathan, of who is in this front group of 16 riders, as we see the rider in this orange jersey with the power up moving forward to the front right now. This is Lucy Harris, the British rider, who's just clipped off the front inside 16 kilometers to go. Further sitting in second wheel on that gold bike.
It's an interesting move from
Just
Harris.
down at some of those
I was
riders
not expecting that, actually, Hannah.
No, me either. Not at all. But trying to do something. I was going to say, just looking down at some of the riders who are in this group of 16 who don't have a series pass, and of course they go to the top 10 riders in a finish, and of course we've got our sprint on Broad Street to come. Maria Holdcroft isn't one of those riders who's got a series pass, and Nevin, the Norwegian rider who's in the group. So there's plenty on offer for these riders coming up. London,
okay, so there is a
Swede.
battle between them. Yeah, good call there. Good call there. I was mistaken, actually, on that between the riders. So good call with Nevin being a qualifier through. Yeah, so there's a few that are going to be battling it out. There's going to be a little extra battle within the battles, right, between them. Holdcroft, Nevin, Hansen, and London. Are those the main here at this point that don't have? Let's see if we can call out a couple of others, but I think that's the mains that don't have a series pass at this point. So they're going to be extremely motivated for this Broad Street, and then after that, the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. I just have the Holdcroft, London, Nevin, the ones who don't have a pass currently.
Good correct. Yeah, that's also a correction there. Cecilia Hansen, she has a verified badge in game, so that was the mistake there. Nevin now to the front, it looks like, taking over. That's going to be the coalition rider. Hermanson, it looks like, also protecting the front. Sitting on the back, though, that's always a question mark for who is sitting on the back and just not putting in any work. Jenny Eck, who was the rider from Cryo DT just a moment ago, now starting to make her way forward. So I think it's all Grupo Compacto, everybody really knowing that this section of the course is a big risk to try and make any kind of moves. You don't want to burn any matches that you're going to need for those final climbs. You've got the Broad Street Sprint that's going to be an absolute battle, and then 3 climbs immediately after that. And that's why everything's really calmed down now at this point, because you burn some matches now, and it can just be game over for you later on.
But there's certainly no need to make some sort of move at this point, particularly with the Broad Street Sprint coming up. And I think for these riders, it's been such a hard race so far. Just use this opportunity to almost regather yourself, collect yourself together, start to think, right, well, how can we not only win the Preem and win the money, and for those riders, if they're looking for this series pass, to take that, but how can we win the race overall? And you start to dissect the final 14 kilometers here. What can they do? Start to analyze, well, we've got someone in this group who might want to try and go long, so we have to be aware that they might want to try and attack maybe inside the final 10 kilometers, for example. And so it's just taking a little bit of take stock, let's say, of who's here. We've already seen that Kulczynski, she's shown a card. She's shown that she's incredibly strong. She's come in the rider, the US champion, who's in second wheel right now. She's already shown that she's got excellent form. Holdclough is always a solid rider too. 4.9 kilometers to go until that preem.
Yeah, a little bit different than what we saw in the men's race. I think because it's whittled it down so much at this point, there's a little bit more trust in not needing to necessarily get away. It's not as much of a gamble letting these riders be involved at this point. And you start having these goals that you can set, right? Like, am I going to go all out for the win? Am I going to go all out for the Broad Street Sprint? Start planning your plan of attack, what strengths you have out here out on course. And you can plan for that better when it's whittled down like this. You can know a little bit more about what you can accomplish. And I think that's why we're seeing things so calm at this point. Nevin now at the front was at the front for a little bit, now backing right on off and trying not to do too much work. It's really calmed down. You find yourself at the front at 2 watts per kilogram, 2.6, you know that these ladies are just watching each other, waiting for that next move.
Watching, waiting, it's almost that cat and mouse, isn't it? It's waiting for someone to blink and then having to react. And I think this also takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of trust in your tactic as a rider, as a team. You've got Lethbridge, who's up towards the front from Coalition. There's a couple of other riders. She's got a teammate just alongside her, Lou Bates, in these purple-pink jerseys you can see. And Nevin, she's one of the riders of that Coalition team that's looking for that season pass. And so maybe for Lethbridge and Bates, they're going to try and help their teammate, the Norwegian, to try and get that series pass at the next preem. Almost seems as though that team aspect is really coming into play right now, Nathan.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the riders here are going to be looking to set up their teammates as best as they possibly can, because the more teammates you have as Series Pass riders, the better chances you have down the road of being able to win that team competition or get a good placing in the team competition as well. So setting them up as best as you possibly can to get them through and secure that place and not have to continue to keep on trying to qualify. That's going to be massive for these riders.
And it's something that's going to help them. You're not just thinking about today's race. You're thinking about the rounds to come and giving yourself as a team and having the strength and numerical advantage and having the strength and depth. And so if you can try and tick that off in round 1, then you go into round 2, 3, 4 with that strength and knowing that you've got that qualification. And you don't have to then rely on the qualifiers.
For now, toward the front on the Golden Tron, keeping things calm, 2.6 watts per kilogram again, as you can see. So, you know, behind the battles that they're not going to be chasing. I don't think at this point they know the chase. I think knows that the race is up the road, and they're going to be battling each other though for positions, for points for their team though. So there still is a battle to be played out with the chase group for those placings. So they're going to be thinking about how well that they can place and not waste too much energy, actually. So either back there. So a lot of motivation to just sit in at this point as everything has been really established out here. Now the question is who's going to give it a go, though, early before the Broad Street Sprint here, because this is about the same time that we started to see the moves being made amongst the men. Are they going to just wait, though, for a kick to the line? Is going to be the question here. The ones looking for the Series Pass, and Nevin here we can see sitting at the back. I think a few riders are going to starting to think about how Holdcroft as well. And Holdcroft, she's not a rider who's got a kick that can challenge, I think, as far as the sprint goes out here. She's going to have to give it a go early or just trust she's getting a top 10. I'm not sure either of those things are secured for her at this point. So I think some risks are going to need to be made by Holdcroft if she wants either of those things.
It's going to take something pretty special, isn't it? And particularly you get the sense here, the way that they're lining themselves up, and you can feel that tension, and you can see the jerseys, those pink and purple jerseys of Coalition, that are moving towards the front as Kolczynski just makes a little bit of an acceleration now. 3.8 watts per kilogram, 4.3. Starts to ramp things up. You get a sense that it's starting to get faster. You can see the speed go up as well, 40 kilometers per hour. And I think you're quite right in saying from behind, and the groups behind, they can't just rest on the laurels. They can't think, well, I'm not in the front group, so that's my race done. It's all about those team points and team classifications behind as we start to edge closer towards the Prem itself. And of course, 10.8 kilometers to go. Jenny Egg, the Finnish rider here of Cryo RDT. Can she try and help her teammate, Maria Holcroft?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lead-out train, actually, from the Cryo RDT riders to try and set her up. Holcroft, Jenny Eck, those are the two other Cryo RDTs here, and they're going to be doing everything they can, I would think, to try and set up Holcroft, but it's going to be a very difficult ask amongst some of the best sprinters in the world. I mean, the reality of Liz Van Houweling, Guerra here as well. I mean, Hansen's got a good kick, so, I mean, there is a lot on the line here between them. So we'll see what ends up happening in just a moment here. Holcroft continues to protect her position at the front. A little bit early, perhaps. We're going to have a downhill right here in just a moment. A left-hand turn into a right-hand turn, and then the banner is in front of them. Pretty good ways out. I want to say a good 500 meters or more up until that point when they take that final right-hand turn and then can see the banner off in the distance. Now the setup here onto the downhill, it's going to be an interesting one.
It is, and you can see Holcroft, who is just trying to hold the front place right now. They're going to make that left-hand turn, shortly followed by the right. 1 kilometer to go. There you see the road starts to bear to the right-hand side. Lethbridge is up towards the front currently. She's the rider from Coalition. And don't forget, they want to try and help Nevin.
Yeah, and one thing I definitely want to watch out for is Liz Van Houweling here. She's another rider that's going to be looking for a series pass, and she has got a kick. She doesn't necessarily like it as much as some of these other riders when it heads uphill, but as far as having a really, really good kick and being extremely savvy on sprints like that, Liz Van Houweling's one to watch out for here. You know, that's one that I definitely missed, and maybe now once we come down to it, Van Houweling may go for it, or is she just holding out for a top 10 is the big question. Holcroft goes now. Holcroft 11 watts per kilogram. Huge kick. Holcroft is gone. Is she just, that's it?
Wow.
9 watts per kilogram. I don't think that they're bringing her back. She is absolutely gone, and that is her series pass and $500 in the pocket.
But starting to move herself forward, you can see Lucy Harris in the orange jersey of Hexagon. 220 meters to go for Holcroft. She really, really wants this series pass, but she can't give up. Out of the saddle once again. Another big power. She's going to take the series pass. $500. Chapeau.
Huge effort from that was very impressive. You know, just leading it out there completely, saying, look, I'll take the risk, I'll be the first one to go. Nobody even responded to her, and she was just gone at 12 watts per kilogram all in. She has solidified herself as a series pass rider now. Holcroft, what a move. Nicely done by Maria. Kolczynski, we can see here now protecting at the front. Across the line, it was Lou Bates and Catherine Furr right behind her, battling it out. Both of them up and over the top of 11 watts per kilogram or so. So big kicks from them still. But will that come back to bite them later on is going to be a big question. We've got 3 climbs in succession in just a moment after they do this Governor Street downhill and then into the Industrial Park where it flattens out, and Nevin to the front pressing the pace a little bit. Furr now covering 5.4, doesn't want to let anything get too crazy out of the way, and we're about to head into the finale.
I do think for Holcroft, she didn't want to only think about the finish and potentially securing a series pass, whereas on the other hand, you've got someone like Liz Van Houweling from Next Esports powered by Insured who can be there at the finish. She can sprint for a victory, and so she can really rely on her sprint. And so you see, you know, it could be a little bit of a risk, but the rider from the USA, she's really confident in her capabilities to try and get that series pass, but not just the series pass, but to try and take the victory itself. the Norwegian of Coalition, who we're on board with here. She's another one of those riders looking for the series pass itself. They've got the Strength in Numbers Coalition in this group, don't forget. They've got Bates in the move. They've got Lethbridge.
Yeah, and top 10, Hannah, is going to be a big question mark here. You know, we are obviously looking for our winner, our podium and all that, but there's other battles going on in here as well between some of these riders to try and get into that top 10 to get their series pass as well. Nevin's going to be one of them that's going to be watching for, can I get into that top 10 in order to get the series pass, as well as Liz Van Houweling maybe going for an outright win. We could definitely see, we saw her win in the qualifiers. Has she been reserving enough energy to hang on when the big moves go and then, you know, launch that massive sprint that we know that she has at the finish line? But she's also going to be thinking about what she has for a top 10. Hexagon now making a move off the front. This is an interesting move. Was not expecting that. And that's going to be Harris. I believe that's going to be, Lucy Harris making another move. Nice one here from her.
Really, really nice move from Harris, and she's been quite a protagonist already within this race. She's shown her colours, she's been up towards the front. As I said before, she's one of those riders who has been thriving over in Great Britain in road races. She's been really, really impressive. She's had a couple of victories along the way. She's had plenty of podium placings and lots of top 10s. So Lucy Harris has really shown herself not just in Zwift, but also IRL, right on the road and in some of the crits. So she's able, and you can see she's an incredibly strong rider physically. She's very smart. She wants to try and use the way that she can race on the road to her advantage here in Zwift too. Cole Clough is always a rider that's very, very consistent.
A little bit of a bump in the road. We saw the riders throw a little 6 watts per kilogram for a moment there. I don't think that's really to go anywhere. It was just the gradient pushing back on the trainers for a second. All Grupo Compacto again. Nevin still at the front, pressing on. Hermansen sitting second wheel. And then we've got 3 national champions lined up all next to each other. USA, Sweden, and Switzerland with Führer there. And now as it rolls downward toward Libby Hill, they're going to take this straightaway for a little while, and underneath a bridge, a left-hand turn into a cobble climbs, and that's when it's really all going to kick off as the first of 3 in a row toward the finish line.
And it's a real brute of a climb, isn't it, Libby Hill? Let's not forget, you've got the cobbles. It's only just over 650 meters long, but with an average gradient of 6%, and you've got those really steep gradients, those steep kickers. And so maybe someone might want to try something, maybe try and stretch things out. Someone's feeling really, really good. They've got good legs, and we're coming up to almost an hour of racing, 5.2 kilometers to go, and that's quickly followed by the 23rd Street climb. Another short climb, but very, very steep.
Yeah, that 23rd Street, a lot of times the deciding factor. Rarely do we see somebody kick over top of 23rd Street and stay away because the speeds are so high, but if it separates enough and you get some daylight, that may be something that Kolchinsky, I can see Furr as well, Lou Bates, because a few of these riders, they've got good kicks. I mean, Catherine Furr can sprint with the best of them, that's for sure, but they do not want the risk that is bringing Mika Soderstrom with them all the way to the line. And if you haven't noticed, Mika hasn't really been at the front much. I think Mika Soderstrom here saving up as best as she possibly can for the best placing at the end of the day. Watch out for Soderstrom. She's just so good when it comes down to those final moments. She can suffer right to the final 200 and then still kick into that 11, 12 watts per kilogram. Soderstrom keeping it quiet so far, so we'll see how it goes for her. Now into the climb, though, we're about to see it.
But it just shows how smart the 25-year-old Swedish rider is. The fact that she can, and we see her here, picture in picture, for Soderstrom, it's keeping yourself out of trouble, following the wheels, protecting yourself as much as possible, trying to save as much energy as possible, and try and ride to your forte. And should this come down to a group of 16, she's by far the fastest of them all. And you always have these kind of riders, Nathan, who, even if there are better climbers in the group itself, you've got riders like Söderström who are able to make themselves suffer so hard and go so deep to make sure that they're not distanced, and they're able to keep themselves within the race. And it's not just that physical ability, but it's that mental ability to still be there and to almost crack everybody else. And everybody else will be knowing that she's here and knowing what a real threat she can be at the end.
Interesting to see Cecilia Hansen now making her way to the front. Kolczynski was there as well. Lou Bates now starting to push the pace, though. Cecilia Hansen, though, 8 watts per kilogram. Catherine Furr now 8 watts per kilogram. Now the game is really on. Here we go. This is the moments we've been waiting for here now. Lou Bates now 6 watts per kilogram. Backing off, though. There was a little bit of a kick. Now everybody can see people are able to respond. Or is it just the attrition in the legs is going to be the question. Bates now up and over the top. It looks like Kolczynski now responding again. And it's going to be Lou Bates, 8 watts per kilogram, making her way to the front, neck and neck. Bates, Kolczynski, then Furr on the far left. It's going to be Mika now, able to make it there too. Hansen still involved. Kolkoff falling off the back. Van Houweling off the back just a little bit, but all together here with about 10 maybe riders or so, with Kolczynski leading things out. Söderström there, everybody watching. Who's made it? A little bit of a breath, but is it going to be Furr now over the top actually? No, Bates takes over.
Well, this is interesting because some of those riders who went early previously, you've got Lucy Harris, whose distance she's at 5 seconds, Lethbridge at 6 seconds, Holdcroft at 23 seconds. Verhaeren has just got herself back through. But this is interesting, the fact that Lethbridge and Harris have been distanced. Just shows how hard they went over the top of that climb.
Yeah, and the real question mark is going to be 23rd. Yeah, I mean, we saw a little bit earlier she was a part of the group that came back. And so perhaps, you know, just a little bit extra was given to the race to come back to that front group after that initial split. So perhaps now trying to get back on terms before the 23rd Street punch is going to be a massive energy drain before everybody else is just rolling through. Now the question is, will there be a break over the top here? Nevin kind of leading things out. It looks like it's going to be London, actually, the first one to go. 7 watts per kilogram, leading into 23rd. Not always what you want to do. You kind of want to kick at the moment that you need to. 13% gradient here now. Bates is at the front, driving at 10 watts per kilogram from almost every one of the riders, but Bates continues on with 10 watts per kilogram. She's trying to snap the elastic. That's what she's up to. Furr's responding. 11 watts per kilogram. Guerra's right on the wheel there as well. It's going to be Söderström, Kolczynski. Little bit of a gap starting to open up as Furr comes up over the top. Furr continues on. Guerra in third. Bates in second. It's going to be Söderström just hanging on. Kolczynski trying to grab the wheel. Van Houweling is still there. Verhaeren just barely grabbing. Is it going to snap? Kolczynski over the top, it looks like. And I think we're going to have about 9 maybe riders able to just hang on. Cecilia Hansen has to close the gap now. I think she's going to do it as she grabs onto Verhaeren's wheel. Maybe, no, it's rolling away now at this point. If Hansen doesn't go now, this may get away from them, and we may have what looks to be about an 8-group pack up front. London just off the back as well.
And you can see how quickly that gap is able to open up. 7/100ths of a second there to Hansen. She's trying to close things, but meanwhile, it's the teammate Arielle Verhaeren who's putting down the pace at the front. Kolczynski tried to snap the elastic. Back to heel. It all came back together. Van Houweling is there, as is Söderström. Bates in the pink and purple jersey right at the back of this group here. You can see in that jersey, well, Hansen's going to get herself back in. There you see the Swedish rider back into contention. London is at 1.7 seconds as it currently stands, as is Kolclough and Nevin. It's going to all come back by the seams of things. There's no real cohesion in the front, and riders are going to get themselves back here, Nathan. Hermansen comes back.
Nobody taking the risk there. I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either,
No.
knowing what's about to happen. Hitting Governor Street now, and now Furr makes her way to the front. This is the real moment of the race now, and Ann Nevin makes her way to the front. Kolczynski's going to try and make this as hard as she possibly can. She does not want to come down to a sprint effort, and I have a feeling she's going to try and snap things if she's got anything left in the tank, and it is Kolczynski at the front, 6 watts per kilogram. Furr sitting second wheel, it looks like. Now Nevin, though, going to the front. Nevin just continuing to do this early on in these climbs, but now fading. Kolczynski now kicks 7 watts per kilogram. This is what she wants to do. She wants to snap it early and say it's done. She does not want to carry them to the line. She does not want to sprint, but Furr Furr responds. Hermanson responds. Bates is there. Guerra is there. Hansen able to respond. We've still got about, it looks like 5 riders all still in contention. Hansen trying to get back on terms. Soderstrom missing the wheel for a second. Can she get back to it? Because it's a 1 second gap, and she is there. Mika just barely, it looks like, clawing her way back into this group as Bates tries to ramp it up. Now it's going to be Bates and Kolchinski doing what they do best, ramping it up all the way to the line.
And they're able to maintain this kind of effort for such a long period of time here, Nathan, that they're just trying to crack the other riders, just trying to snap the elastic. Guerra's able to respond 5.5 watts per kilogram. Look at Söderström, 6.4 watts per kilogram there, the Swedish champion. On the right-hand side in that blue and yellow jersey, the USA champion at the back. Kolchinski just drops back, and it's the Swiss champion up towards the front on the gold bike inside the final 500 meters here. They've got the line in the sights. Who's going to blink? Because now they've got one rider who's coming back to these riders. That looks like Hansen who's coming back here.
Yeah, and the big kick's about to go. We're saying about 300 meters, so who's going to lead it out? Furr's on the front. Furr's on the front. Is Furr? Furr's going to go. It looks like it's Furr. 8 watts per kilogram. There are powers being thrown. Now it's 11 watts per kilogram for Furr. Does Furr have it from the front? Guerra's looking to respond. Guerra's looking to respond. Guerra's trying to come across, but I'm not sure she's going to be able to do it. I think Furr has done it. Furr kicks early enough and gets the gap that was needed. Here comes Mika Soderstrom for third. It's Gabriela Guerra for second. But what a move from Catherine Furr. Furr for Aeonian shows why they are the best in the world. Oh my goodness, what a race. And it was the one to go first. They left it late, didn't they, Hannah?
They left it really late, but for Fura, that was a bold effort to take it up. And you saw the power that she was able to put down there in the final 200 meters. 11.1 watts per kilogram, and for Fura, she's such a complete rider, isn't she? She can meet the demands on a big, long climb. She can meet the demands of a race of attrition like today, where it's been so intense. And that timing of opening up the sprint was absolutely perfect, and nobody could come close. She got the daylight, and she put some world-class riders into some difficulty there, and she took it by some considerable margin.
Once she got the gap there with the and Holcroft now coming across the line, but she's happy, right? She got exactly what she wanted out of the day. It was an all-in effort on that Broad Street. Good on her. Now a little bit of kicks to the lines. We're calling the race to the finish here. And it is going to be Marine Maj now able to get the better of Joanna Zimmerman. Annie Poland there going to be looking to round out the top 20 in a little bit of a battle with Frida Kronqvist. But here comes Maj across the line, followed up by Zimmerman. Here's the battle with Annie Poland. Did Poland get the better of the rest of that group? It looks like the OTR rider did. Nicely done by her, followed up by Velte, Natalie Smith, and Laura Meyer. Maria Marb trying to battle it out, it looks like, with an RWB rider, and that is going to be Christine Schneider. Crossing the line in 25th place. Maria Marb, it looks like it's going to be grabbing that 26th. Sarah Roach for Synergy. Ava Synergy cross the line in 27th. Marisol Oritz. Ooh, nice little battle with Rachel Brown. Right to the line. Oritz is going to get the better of Brown, it looks like. Oh, excuse me. Nice little battle with, it looked like, was that actually Roach? Excuse me on that. And then it's going to be Brown here, followed up by Marcel Smithers in 430s. But yeah, that jump to the line there, Hannah, because they waited so late, really when you're within that 300 to 200 meters, aero power up, the amount of speed you can gain very quickly with a 12 watt per kilogram kick, you are going to get outside of the range of the draft. Immediately you've got the pickup speed, and once that acceleration is there and you're not already with it, coming around somebody who's already got that speed, it's just a little bit too much, and it was just a drag race between everybody else behind, I think, at that point.
But if you add up the accumulation of all of the accelerations and efforts and the intensity throughout the whole race, it's, for some riders, it's having the ability to have that kick still. And you know, you can be one of the best sprinters, but sprinting at the end of a race like that is very, very different than perhaps a flatter race where you've not made all of those efforts, you've not had that intensity, you've not made probably what close to more than 50 accelerations throughout. And so for Fjord, exceptional racing, and she, as I said before, she shows why she's one of the best. You know, we saw that already in the Zwift Games earlier on this season. The way in which she was able to win was just quite simply phenomenal. Nobody could touch her. And taking a look at that top 10, there's some crucial riders who managed to get the pass, and Nevin finishing in the top 10. Likewise with Liz Van Heuling, it means that they've secured their place with a series pass. Sadly, one of those riders that just missed out was Sarah Lundin, who just finished just outside the top 10 and doesn't get one of those series passes.
You're going to have to go through the qualifiers again, but it's all about earning it, improving it out here. I absolutely love that part of it as well. It's a part of the racing, right? The victories and the losses.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that we saw last year in Zwift Games for sure is these top three. You know, top four, top five. I mean, Catherine Furr versus Gabrielle Laguerre versus Lou Bates versus Mika Soderstrom, Kristen Kolczynski. And now they've done it again. They put on one of the best shows we've seen in quite a while. And I absolutely love it that we are here again, watching them throw down against each other, battling it all out to see who's the best in the world.
I agree totally. And I think we've had a really hard, arduous race. It's been very, very tactical too. So you've had to be very clever, very smart where you use your efforts. Don't forget, it seems such a long time ago already that we saw Krista Kolczynski with that huge advantage, and we thought, well, could this be it? But she got brought back to heel. But I think we can see our results on the evening. Fjord taking it ahead of Guerra and Bates in third there, Nathan.
Yeah, Mika Soderstrom rounding it out there. I thought Mika had just nabbed that third, but it looks like fourth place for her on the day. Kristen Kolczynski, after an amazing effort off the front for quite a long time, trying to break things apart, settles for fifth place. Lisa Hermanson in sixth, Ariel Verhaeren, Cecilie Hansen, and Nevin. And then Liz Van Houweling getting her spot with that top 10. Nicely done to Liz Van Houweling. I believe we're going to be going out to 20th now with Jenny Eck, followed up by Sarah London, Charlotte Colclough, Alice Lethbridge, Lucy Harris, Maria Holdcroft in 16th, and a shout out to her for getting her Broad Street Sprint for that series pass. Maureen Rausch, followed up by Johanna Zimmerman. Annie Poland in 19th, followed up by Iris Hanjosten, coming out of Germany. In for 21st through 30th, it's going to be Frida Kondkist, Amelia Velte, Natalie Smith in 23rd, Laura Meyer 24th, Christine Schneider in 25th, Maria Marb in 26th, Sarah Roach in 27th, Marisol Ortiz in 28th, Rachel Brown in 29th, and Marcel Smithers rounding out your top 30 today in the women's race. What some great racing. Everybody really threw down out there, Hannah. But I think we're heading on over to OJ. We may be having an interview as well. OJ, take it away.
We certainly are, Nathan. Thank you so much. A great women's race in this Zwift World Series, the first big race we've done. So let's talk to the winner. Let's talk to her right now, and I believe we can chat if she's there. Hello to Catherine. Hey, how are you?
Hey, yeah, I'm good. Winning is always good.
It is good, and I tell you what, it never gets easier, does it? You've been so successful, but that one was tough as well to take that win.
It definitely was. I knew it was going to be hard. I was ready for a hard race. I wanted a hard race as well. So I was ready for all kind of attacks. And I knew my strengths are the short hills. And I think, yeah, with lots of luck as well, it played out really good.
How much do you come into these races with a predetermined plan? Because, you know, Kolczynski went off really early. At the end, there was attacks all over the place. How much do you come in with a plan you think, if I can do this, then this race is mine?
Well, honestly, it all depends on when I go on the bike and I feel my legs. Because no master plan works out when you have shit legs. So, yeah, normally my plan is coming in, while I'm actually racing. So I knew the first attack I don't need to cover. way too fast to go like 20 kilometers solo in the race. So I didn't want to lose a shot from my side. So but it was surely also luck. Kristen is really strong. She can push these kind of power for a long time.
And it was an amazing finish to the race. We saw that big old drag up the hill. When Lou Bates went, what is in your mind when you see her go, when you see that power? What goes through your mind at that moment?
I actually didn't see too much. I just wanted to get a blast of a sprint, honestly. And when I saw it's like the 300-meter mark, I thought, now I just go. And eyes closed and went through.
Well, it's a great domineering win. We love watching you race as well. What did you think of the course? It's a new one. Most people probably haven't seen it yet. What did you think of this new Richmond course?
Yeah, I love it. I love the classic Richmond course, and this is just a bit harder, of course, but it's even more fun.
Well, congratulations. I can see you on the bike. It's always difficult to do an interview once you've been through a race like that, so thank you so much. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll let you cool down now. There you go. Nathan, it's always difficult when we try and interview people post a race like that because that finish was amazing. And was it a predictable podium for you?
Yeah, I would think, those 5, 6, 7 riders are known as the fastest in the world right now. Catherine Furr is almost unbeatable right now. She's got a golden Tron for a reason, and I think a lot of riders are looking at Catherine and figuring out how do we beat Catherine. So, there's the win with the podium there. Gabriella, I've got a little inside knowledge, I guess, and, how do I figure out the ways? That's how these riders are thinking, because when a rider's that dominant, they try and find that crack in the armor. Lou Bates, I was expecting what we saw from her. I think maybe that throwdown for that early preem maybe took a little bit of sting out of her sprint, perhaps. So then we see the preem winners there, as we just said, with Lou Bates. Kristen Kolchinski trying to go long for that one, held on for second. Then Gabriella there coming on in for third on that. Maria Holdcroft, big, bold attack on Broad Street. Love to see the bold attack from her. Lou Bates and Catherine rounded out for second and third, but congratulations to Holdcroft for getting her series pass. So that's the podiums out there today for this stage number 1. But yeah, as you asked, OJ, definitely the names to be expected. The other thing is, who are the names that are new to that area? And I'd say Ann Nevin and Lisa Hermanson, big rides from them, and really rides to be proud of. And you start to get that confidence, and it can kind of snowball for you to be there more often and find some extra strength as the series goes on.
Well, it's exactly that. It's trusting your own ability as well. Kristen Kolchinski, I've always loved watching her ride. She rides with full power. She rides with joy. She rides with an attempt at dominance. Do you think her going away so early? And at one point, I was listening to your commentary between you and Hannah. You were saying she could be away if the pack doesn't get itself together. She could be away here.
Yeah, the one thing that we have to recognize as well about this course is the energy reserves are kind of saving up, though, for the moments where the explosiveness happens, and that explosiveness can bring back a lot of time pretty quickly. That's why I said it has to be a certain amount of time she has to gain. They kind of kept it. You notice how it always kind of stayed between that 15 to 20 seconds in both the men's races and the women's race. As soon as it got close to 30, they kind of started going, hey, time to slingshot. This is getting a little out of hand here. Let's not let this get too out of control. So I think the savvy riders in the main pack that was making the chase to not let her get too out of control, because Kristen is a rider who can demoralize a pack if they're not willing to work together, and very quickly the infighting starts. So she could do it one of these days.
And that's what made it exciting racing as well. Now, the World Series is not just about the individual results, it's about the team classification as well. The top place team in this race gets $1,000 for their efforts. So let's take a look at the classifications in the Women's Series after this first race. Same question to you as I did in the men's. Are you surprised at what we look at the teams that are at the top there?
Aeonian, the only thing is that Aeonian has been known to be one of the most dominating forces, and they've shown what they can get done. With the pickup of Catherine Furr, that has really solidified things, because I do know that there's been some movement across teams, and so I think we're going to start seeing some new teams into these top spots. Coalition and Wahoo Esports, though, are definitely right on the heels. It's not just a walk-away kind of situation. You change a couple of places, and this leaderboard changes. So as far as, next presented by Insured, Avis, Saris, I mean, these are some teams that I would expect a little bit more out of for sure. But not too surprised. Aeonian, always one of the best teams in the world. Coalition, Wahoo Esports, CryoDT, that's your top 4. Followed up by Hexagon, Movistar E-Team, Saris Esports, Avis Synergy, Next Esports presented short, and then it's going to be Beast Mode presented by Road. That's your top 10. And I have a feeling we're going to see very similar boards throughout the rest of the season, OJ.
Yeah, and it's going to be fascinating to see not just how the races go, but how this team competition goes as well. Nathan, as always, it's an honor to be with you. Thank you so much to Nathan and to Hannah as well for that fabulous commentary across both of those races. And with that, we are done for this first round of the elite races in the Zwift World Series. Congratulations to Joan, to Katrin for taking those wins in the men and the women's. Coverage back in 2 weeks' time, October the 3rd. Nathan and Dave for Hoot the Bell Tolls will be back with the open qualifier for race 2. Lots of racers there who didn't get themselves a series passed and have to get themselves back in for Watopia's peak performance route, where they're taking on Zwift's newest Clyde, the Grade. This is the new climb. I haven't tried it yet. It says one not to be missed, but I shall attempt to try and miss it. I'm not built as a climber. I'm going to be back on October the 17th, the elite race. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much for watching. Ride on.